Call to order the regular meeting Board of Trustees for Tuesday, February 19th. Let the record reflect that it is 6:43. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
Here.
Trustee Stubbs?
Here.
Trustee House? Trustee Denton?
Present.
Trustee Pearson?
Here.
Trustee Henry?
Present.
We have a quorum. Trustee House advised that he's going to be a little late. So if we can reflect that in the record. Next thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would stand. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would remain standing, we have a resident tonight I hadn't seen in a while, Miss Thames. How you doing tonight? You want to lead us in prayer tonight? You don't? Not tonight, huh? Okay, Elder Clayton, if you would.
Every head bowed and every eyes closed. Eternal God, our Father, we thank and praise you just to see another day. We thank you, O God, that as we look at our lives and we look at this time, that things are as well as they are. We thank you, God, for anything and everything. Most of all, we thank you for the mayor, trustees, and all the heads that are responsible for the business of this village. Now, God, as we move forward, even should we disagree, allow us not to be disagreeable. Have your way. We be careful to give your name all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory, and all God's people say, amen.
Amen.
And I want to correct that. I said Elder Clayton. It's Elder Creighton. Okay, if you can let the record reflect the trustee House is here. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the village clerk's report.
General announcements, Mayor.
That's what I said, general announcements. General announcements.
Yes, Mayor, may I be recognized?
All right, go ahead, trustee.
I have a couple of general announcements. First, I want to thank, and I see one of them out here, Miss Sandra Wells, for the forum that we had, I believe, on the 9th of February. It was professionally ran. I appreciate it. It was the first professional forum that I'm aware of. My only complaint or issue at 1 minute, it was pretty short. But other than that, I think it was great for the community. I want to thank you and the rest of the committee for having such a professionally ran forum by State Rep Davis. And I want to give you all your accolades on that. And hopefully in the future, when there are persons running for office, you can have them again. Secondly, speed bump program. There's been some changes, so for those of you at home watching this, I guess you would take note more than those who are here. It is not under resident, it is under departments for the speed bump. If those who are interested in a speed bump or speed bumps on their block, you go to departments on vodolton.org. That's VO as in village of Dolton.org, and click departments, which is community service unit. And I'll just kind of read over some of it, but we're going to edit this language because any record that comes into the Village of Dolton should first come to the clerk's office. So that application that would be printed, hopefully we'll make some available also here at the Village Hall for those who don't have access to the internet can come and get an application for speed bumps, and that should be turned into the clerk. If the clerk is not here, you would leave it at the front desk with those persons who does information, and hopefully they'll be made aware of what's going on tonight so that when people are asking, they're familiar with the speed bump program. But just to give a quick overview of the speed bump program, the Village of Dolton has adopted a speed bump program in order to calm speeding in areas that experience this issue. It is not feasible to install speed bumps on every street in Dolton. Therefore, a system has been developed so that residents can request the village consider a certain location. To simplify this, the first thing one must do is, if you're on the website, you scroll down to where it says speed bump application, click print, and it looks like this. It's a very simple one-page application. You fill that application and it is turned into the clerk of the Village of Dolton. And then she would forward to the respective bodies, and that body would be the Police and Fire Committee. They will take that under consideration and give it to the police department. They'll do their speed survey, and then you will be informed whether or not the speed bumps will be done on your block. So again, the main thing is to go on vodolton.org, click Departments. Under Departments, you click Community Service Unit and just read it and follow directions, and it's pretty simple. And that's my public service announcement for this day as far as general announcement. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, could I be right now?
Go ahead.
From Deputy Chief Mobley. I'm sorry. From Deputy Chief Mobley, he has an update status of hiring of part-time police. The applications for part-time police officers have been turned in by the deadline of February 8th. As of this week, all qualified applicants have been contacted for their first initial interviews. Once all applicants have been interviewed, the best candidates for the village and our department will be called in for second interviews, at which time we will be offering employment based on a thorough background investigation coming back clear. We look to have the first group of new officers starting by mid-April to mid-May. And also a note, Project Connect Community Police meeting is Thursday, February 28th at 7 p.m. at the Village Hall. Flyers are on the information desk, and we hope to have a nice crowd coming to the Project Connect meetings this year. February 12th, we had a Police and Fire Committee meeting. We talked about the police and fire budget, status of where we are this year, and also talked about the issues for next year, the next fiscal year, which we're going to try to have hopefully by the, not the deadline date, but April 30th. Last year we ran it long, but we're going to try to have that solved by this year. We also talked about the status of reopening Fire Station 2, and we're hoping to have that open pretty quickly. It doesn't look like a lot needs to be done, but we're still in a stage of getting some numbers together. But I think Chief Dyer is getting some things done, even though we had a pipe burst down there, but that's moving forward, and hopefully we'll have a full update next meeting, letting you know that it is open or working closely to get there. We also discussed fire department overtime. We are running over on overtime right now and hoping to try to get that under control, but it looks like we're going to have to continue to hire to lower the overtime, and you're going to pay one way or the other. And last but not least, on that agenda we had hiring of 2 crossing guards. That was before we had the committee meeting. It's going to be amended tonight. It is on the agenda to hire crossing guards. I'm going to let Deputy Chief Mobley talk about that, but it will not raise the budget. Some of it's replacing crossing guards, and some of it is hiring crossing guards, but it's well below the $147,000 that was put in the budget, and that would be under new business tonight. And with that, Mayor, that's all I have. And thank you.
Next thing on the agenda.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Briefly. I would just like to also thank the committee that held the forum a couple of weeks ago. Very good job. Thursday, February the 28th at 5:30 p.m., a planning meeting will be held here at the Village Hall. I just wanted to let the residents know.
I have not finished the January 26th. To have them for you at the next meeting, along with the following meeting minutes as well, so we can get up to date. Secondly, I'd like to call your attention to the notice of public hearing that it was at the front desk and was distributed to the trustees regarding the hearing on the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance, which would prohibit any future beauty supply stores from locating anywhere within the village of Dolton, Existing beauty supply facilities will be considered legal, non-conforming uses. Essentially, it is as it says. If this ordinance is passed by the Board of Trustees, it would prohibit any future beauty supply stores from locating within the Village of Dolton. There will be a special hearing on that matter as required by law at the next meeting date at 6 p.m. on March 4th, 2019, before the regular board meeting. So if I may read it one more time. Notice is hereby given that the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Dolton, serving as a special hearing board, will conduct a public hearing at the Dolton Village Hall on Monday, March 4th, 2019, at 6 o'clock p.m. in accordance with Section 10-13-5 of the Dolton zoning ordinance. The purpose of the public hearing is to consider a proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance, which would prohibit any future beauty supply stores from locating anywhere within the Village of Dolton. Existing beauty supply facilities will be considered legal, non-conforming uses. Any interested members of the public will be heard on the proposed amendment at the hearing at 6 p.m. on March 4th. This is prior to the regular board meeting, at which time it is anticipated that the board will vote on the proposed amendment to the ordinance. This notice has been posted at the Village Hall, and it will be posted on our website. It has also been published pursuant to state statute in the Daily Southtown on February 12th, 2019, and copies again will be available here at the Village Hall. That's on there.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a motion for the approval of the minutes, January 20?
Minutes, Mayor.
You don't have.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so you're really listening?
I was actually reading something else.
You were actually not listening.
I wasn't. I get one, don't I?
Fair enough.
Okay. This is for communication. Engineers report, Ron Smith, he's not here tonight. Did he forward anything to anyone? Okay. Next thing is committee reports. Human Services, Trustee Mohammed.
The Human Services report will be due on March 4th. I'll have it at our next board meeting at that date.
Okay, next thing is planning, Trustee Stubbs.
I would also have that on the 4th.
Next thing, departmental operations, Trustee Stubbs.
That too will be due on the 4th.
Police and fire, Trustee Pierce.
I read my report during general announcements, and I have nothing further to add.
Okay, special events, Trustee Henry.
It's finance, Mayor.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Trustee.
Thank you.
Finance.
No finance committee report, but our finance committee meeting will be February 27th. That's the fourth Wednesday of this month at 5 p.m. where we'll go over the monthly finance report, the budget, and also the audit. So I would invite everyone here and those who are watching at home. It's February 27th, 5 p.m. here at the Village of Dolton at 5:30. I'm sorry, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Thank you. That's it for my report.
Next thing is special events, Trustee Henry.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for coming out this evening. Anybody who wants to participate in the cancer walk, please, by all means, give me a call. Working on that now. We're more than likely going to have the cancer walk in June instead of October. The reason being, last year was a little too cold for some of you guys, and I want more people to participate and walk down the block. My number is 708-297-6859. Again, 708-297-6859. My next question, Mayor, was the housing inspector. I see Trustee Stubbs didn't say anything about that. Is that being taken care of? We're in need of a housing inspector.
I'm not sure if any applications have been placed for the housing inspector. And I didn't get a chance. I was going to have Brian Thigpen possibly do some of the inspections. So that's basically where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, I just want to make some clarity to some things. As you guys know, this Board of Trustees removed myself from the Housing Committee. Trustee Stubbs, Muhammad, and Pearson. They call themselves giving me a whooping, I guess, because I shedded too much light on their program, BP Capital. So they voted to remove me and replace the person, which is Trustee Stubbs, with my committee, right? We all have committees up here. We all do what we're supposed to do. But I'm okay with that. She can have her name placed there for the next 2 weeks. By all means, do so. My only issue is, you guys know that I do not need a title to do what I do here. Y'all know I am truly the people's trustee, I'm sorry. So you guys know I'm gonna do the will of the people no matter what. So I just want to put that for the record. Thank you.
Well, okay, for the record, should we take that block by block off?
It's at the bottom, right?
No. I don't think you're going to get a positive vote after that
Oh, yeah,
statement.
they weren't gonna give it to me no way, Mayor. I'm
Okay.
kind of used to that.
All right. Okay. Corporate bills. Trustee Mohammed.
No corporate bills until March 4th of our next regular board meeting.
Okay, old business. Old business ordinance number 19-002, amending illegal cigarettes, section 3-10-9 of the Dolton Village Code. Trustee Pearson.
Mayor, I just want to make a statement about this issue. I put on, I sent to Attorney Murphy that I wanted to change the fines and the penalties for businesses that sell loose cigarettes in our community and businesses that sell out-of-state cigarettes, ultimately depriving this village of tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. And I think that what happened with this is bad. I know that Attorney Murphy didn't get the notice from our attorney, legislative counsel, till Monday, but he says he didn't have a chance to look at it. So I want the residents to know that the first violation used to be $2,500, and I changed it to $5,000. And I wanted automatic suspension of license for 30 days. That's automatic suspension of the license to sell cigarettes for 30 days. The second violation used to be $5,000, and I wanted that changed to $10,000 with an automatic license suspension for 60 days. The third violation I changed to $25,000, and I wanted their license to be revoked, to take away their privilege to sell cigarettes in our community. The reason I did this is because they sell loosies to this day. They were found guilty at the I shouldn't say found guilty. They pled guilty at the adjudication court in July of 2018, and they still haven't had a hearing and been closed. And so they still sell these cigarettes. And I talked to someone who knows them intimately, who said that they make $900 to $1,000 a day every day that they sell cigarettes in our community. And so the county gets no tax and the village of Dolton gets no tax. So since this was sent to Attorney Murphy Monday from our attorney, and what she did is she looked at some case studies where licenses are suspended without due process in court. And one of them is your driver's license. They will suspend your license and you ain't been to court yet. You just get something in the mail saying your license suspended. And then you appear at a court date later and try to get it unsuspended or do whatever you got to do. But she sent 2 case studies to Attorney Murphy, and he said he got them late on Monday, and so he hasn't had time to review it. So I don't want to vote in it the way that it is presented, and I am going to withdraw this until all the trustees have had a chance to see the case studies and make their decision. But I really think that this should have been passed tonight but I'm not going to ask anybody to vote without knowing, you know, somebody want to see these case studies and go, oh yeah, you can suspend their license. They should be suspended in this community. They're selling loose cigarettes, taking away tax dollars, and we're trying to fix your streets and cut trees and do some things that need to be done, and it's a shame that they have not been closed yet. And with that, I will put this on the next agenda, and if I don't have it written the way I want, I will go to Legislative Council and ask them to change the ordinance and write it up and send the trustees what they need to get so that it can be voted on. And with that, Mayor, I'm done.
All right, next thing on the agenda is ordinance number 19-003, amending water shutoffs, 7-6-7-2A of the Dolton Village Code. Trustee Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 19-003.
Second.
Okay, we don't have an ordinance 19-003. This would create an ordinance. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Murphy.
I believe the trustees Henyard's intention in her communications with me last week was to have an ordinance ready for presentation tonight. I sent the current village code proposal out to Trustee Henyard and Mr. Murphy for drafting of an amendment pursuant to Trustee Henyard's direction, but we did not receive it. So there is no ordinance before the board this evening.
Okay, so Murphy didn't send a amended ordinance?
Correct.
Wow. Okay. All right, well, just real briefly, I put this on here because I get a lot of complaints in regards to people water being shut off over a 3-day weekend. I have an issue with that. I don't think anybody should have to pay for not paying the village their dollars over 3 days. That means Saturday, Sunday, and Martin Luther King Day. Someone water was shut off, so they didn't get turned back on to that Tuesday. So what I was trying to do tonight was amend this so it was no shut off on Fridays. The shut off will only be Monday through Thursday, and then all turn-ons have to be due by noon, and then you turned on the following day. They get a list. That was my intent tonight. Ordinance was supposed to be drawn up. I don't understand what's going on with the attorney and why he did not do so at our direction. As you just heard, I communicated with the clerk and Attorney Murphy, but nothing was done once again. So I guess this will go on to the next agenda. Thank you.
I just want to say something in regards to that, Trustee. I understand your intentions in good faith, but you know, when these water shutoffs are put out there, they usually have been delinquent for 3 months because that's how the billing is done and the shutoffs are done, and usually the customer has had a warning on the shutoffs. Now, considering that we owe the city of Chicago a significant amount of money, when we did put the notice out that water shutoffs would be conducted on a 7-day basis, we had a line wrapped around the building that people were making their payments, and we took in at one specific time over $2 million. So, you know, I ask that you reconsider this because the notice is usually out there and the account is usually delinquent 3 months. So I think by going to a 4-day shut-off deal would limit the amount of money, revenue that would come in that we need to send to the city of Chicago. So,
Mayor, the only reason
yes.
why I am considering it is because of the issues we have here at the village. People water is not being turned back on like it should. The whole point was to get the money from you guys. Once you guys come in and pay, they should go and turn your water back on. You should not have to suffer and be 3 days without water.
It's not.
So if the person, hold on, Mayor, if the person pays on Friday, how do they get their water cut back on for the weekend?
Well, the policy has been, way before I got in the office, is that when the payment is done, it would be turned on within, was it 48 hours, Matt? Consequently, if the payment is paid on Friday, depending on what time it's paid and depending on how many shutoffs that they have and how many turn-ons that they have, it may be impossible for them to get the water turned on immediately. So it's not saying that we're going to wait 48 hours and turn your water on. We're saying is that your water would be turned on within 48 hours. So, so at any rate, if you want to put this in place, it may entail overtime that we have to pay to the Public Works employees, because they get off at 3:30, and I think under contract, they get a wash-up time at 3 o'clock. They come in, Matt, is that correct? 3:15. So, you know, when you're putting something in place like this, you have to consider what they have, what duties they have already, what turn-ons that they have already, and depending on when they come in and pay the bill, it may cause overtime on any given day. So that's why the 48-hour buffer has been put into place, and it's been in place way before I got here.
Okay, well, last board meeting, the board all agreed to not shut off water on Fridays. So that's how this was in place, to write it up as an ordinance. And then not only that, I did speak with your department head, Matt, and Matt was in agreement with what I'm stating as well. I sent an email to the entire body up here stating 2 different ways of handling this. This was the one that everybody wanted.
Okay, that's fine if the board wants it that way, but I think you should take in consideration that that's going to reduce the amount of revenue that we need to get in here and meet our obligation with the City of Chicago. Okay, next thing on the agenda is, oh, wait a minute, the ordinance wasn't written. So, next thing on the agenda is resolution naming, resolution number 19R-004, renaming Chicago Road as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. And I put this on the agenda. It was on the agenda last time, last board meeting. I saw on some correspondence on TV that about 83% of the urban cities in the United States had a Martin Luther King Jr. Drive street, and that was my reasoning for putting this on the agenda. Also, Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday is recently passed, and this is Black History Month. So the board elected to table it, and so I thought I'd put it back on the agenda today. Can I get a motion?
Motion to rename Chicago Road Martin Luther King Drive.
Second.
So motion and second to rename Chicago Road, which we're taking about 13 blocks from Lincoln Avenue to 154th Street, and it's been seconded. Any discussion?
May I be recognized, Mayor?
Go ahead, trustee.
I have a couple questions. I sent a correspondence to yourself and Mr. Stacy, and maybe you can answer it publicly since there was no response to my email. I asked, and I think it was one of the concerns of a trustee, what is the cost? You mentioned the number of blocks, but the email asked, what is the cost of bringing the signs down, putting the signs up? Could you or Mr. Stacy give us a cost on what it would take to do this endeavor?
Well, what Mr. Stacy had sent to me, and I just got it today. Although earlier he sent a email to me with approximate cost. Today I think it's been more solidified. The Public Works already have the brackets to put these signs up, and he gave us a total cost of $909. That's 12 signs at $43.95 each, was a total of $527.40. He said it needs a 12-inch cap, flat cap, U-channel at 180 degrees. There's 12 of those at $15.90, came to a total of $190.80, and a 12-inch cap flat at 90 degrees, which he needed 12, which came into $190, total cost of $909. As far as the labor is concerned, the village puts up all our signs anyway. They can put the signs up, and they have the brackets to do that.
Can I have a follow-up, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Is this honorary or is this permanent?
Well, I like to see it permanent.
I mean, what are we voting on?
And it's written as permanent.
Okay, so it's permanent.
Yes.
Okay, last question. I don't want to belabor this, but have you considered the first black mayor of Dolton, Mayor Shaw, who was also a state senator at one time? And whether you like them, dislike them, agree with them, or disagree with them, have you gave any consideration, Mayor, to a street named after our first black mayor of Dolton?
To be honest with you, I didn't. I saw the item on TV. I thought about it, and now since you brought that up, we have the Shaw Recreation Center. You guys devoted the Shaw fountain, and I think if you wanted to continue to identify some things as our first black mayor and note that for certain structures, that's fine. But it still doesn't answer the reason for honoring Dr. Martin Luther King.
No, it's not a matter of not honoring. I just ask you if you would consider,
And I answered that.
if you would consider a street after the first black mayor of Dolton for your consideration. It's not a matter of what the Park District or the fountain was named after. It's just that it should be under your consideration. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. Any further question? Further discussion? Okay, roll call.
On the motion to approve resolution number 19R-004, a resolution renaming Chicago Road Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion carries, 6 ayes. Thank you. The other thing on the agenda is the next is item D, resolution number 19R-005. That's designating Parkside Avenue, which is 2 blocks long, 146th Street and 147th Street, as honorary Wayne Adams Way. And I put this on the agenda. So can I get a motion, and I'll go into the discussion on this?
Motion to designate to approve resolution 19R-005.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and second to designate Parkside Avenue from 146th Street to 147th Street as honorary Wayne Adams Way. Wayne Adams is a 4-time Hall of Famer, racing announcer. He's a Second World War veteran. He's been living in the village of Dolton for, I think, well over 50 years. April, he will turn 100 years old. He's been a staunch supporter of this village, along with him and his wife, his recently passed wife, and so I asked that it be given some consideration before his birthday, and he's kind of in ill health now, to make this an honorary, and not a designated, but an honorary way for Wayne Adams. Any discussion?
May I be recognized, Mayor?
Go ahead.
After speaking with his daughter, and she gave me the history of him being a veteran, serving our country, then I think that we should embrace him like he have embraced our country by naming the street after him.
Any further discussion? And the cost of this would be, I think, $43 a sign, 2 signs. Any further discussion? No further discussion, roll call.
On the motion to approve resolution number 19R-005, a resolution designating Parkside Drive as the Honorable Wayne Adams Way. Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion carries 6 ayes. Thank you. There will be a designated date that we will change the signs on now Martin Luther King Drive and also Honorable Wayne Adams Way. Next thing on the agenda is an update on business selling illegal cigarettes. Trustee Muhammad.
Yes, Mayor. I want to just reiterate what Trustee Pearson mentioned early in that ordinance that he and I have been working on, along with the two legislative councils. And I want to just make an emphasis on why this is important. Trustee Pearson mentioned it about $300 and something thousand a year per violator of tax dollars that we're not seeing. The number one complaint we get as we canvass our community is the streets, sidewalks, trees, and you know the rest. These are the tax dollars that we never see. These individual vendors who are selling illegal cigarettes, you say, well, what's the big deal? People are going to smoke. You're not going to stop people smoking. But if you're going to sell cigarettes, sell them legally, because now you don't have a level playing field for the individuals who are selling them legally. So if I'm in store A and I'm selling my cigarettes at the regular retail price, I'm losing money. Then the fella next door that's selling Lucy's and buying his cigarettes outside of the county of Cook and selling these illegal cigarettes. Now, this particular individual who was found liable last July, I brought this up to the board at least 4 different board meetings, and the attorney promised, and it's on the record, that he would have an answer for us. And Mayor, I think you also said that you would appoint a hearing officer, and that was about 2 weeks ago. So we would like to know, what is the update on the Marathon station that's continues to sell illegal cigarettes since July of last year? What is the status of the hearing for that particular Marathon establishment?
I haven't set a hearing date yet. There's been a number of things that's been coming into my office. I got limited access to personnel right now to help me handle this stuff, and I just haven't set a hearing date. But within the, I can say within the next 30 days, I'll have a hearing date set.
Okay, I just want the public to see this and witness this. What the mayor used as the reason about staffing. It's a matter of putting a date on a calendar, and if you're too busy, as you just stated, and I would suggest you get an independent hearing officer because of the connection that you have with the Marathon station. But if you're saying you don't have enough staff and you're inundated with work, I just wanted to go on record that this is like my 4th one, and I'll continue to bring this up on March 4th of what we're going to do with vendors continuing to sell illegal cigarettes, where we're losing at least $1.2 million a year in taxes when you combine all the persons that are violating this particular ordinance against the village of Dolton.
You're estimating what we're losing. That's not a definite amount of revenue that we can collect. Each of those, even though Trustee Pearson does not want to give due process when someone is cited, it's up to the court to determine how much the fine is, how much they're going to enforce, and in fact it can be collected. Just because a fine is induced by the court, or whether it's an independent body, does not mean that the offender is going to make that payment. And it happens all the time. That's why warrants are issued. And the higher that you go, and I'm not trying to protect these people, but the higher that you go in fines, the harder it is to collect. So within the next 30 days, I will appoint somebody. The statute says, or the ordinance says, I can do it myself, or I can appoint somebody. I want to appoint someone because it's been implicated by a member of this board that I'm protecting them. And so, at any rate.
Okay, Mayor, can I be recognized, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make one correction. We do want them to have their day in court. They've had their day in court, which was last July. And another hearing date should come quickly, because when you say that you don't have time, you're inundated, busy, no staff, this has been going on since July of last year.
But when was it presented to me?
Can I finish, please, sir?
It wasn't presented to me in July. Go ahead, finish.
Thank you. The papers have been submitted to you. We double-checked and verified, not only with the attorney, but the who was it, Trustee Pearson?
Thigpen.
Mr. Brian Thigpen verified that the papers were forwarded. Now, if you're saying now that you didn't know anything about this back in July of last year, of course, I got to take exception to this. When these people pay these fines of $5,000, $10,000, let me just tell you how illegal this is. These people have 2 cash registers in their gas station. One for the legal people who are buying their packs of squares, and one for the illegal side so they can keep tabs on what they're doing. These people are violating the law. They're violating the regulation of the Village of Dolton. Let you or I not pay our taxes. You'll be fine. IRS time is coming around to get our refunds. These persons have been found liable. And why there is not a hearing for these persons to say that we're inundated with work, no staff, is unacceptable to me. Unacceptable to me. And as far as collecting revenue, if I'm making $1,000 a day and around $400,000 a year paying that fine, which they've done in the past, and if Chief Collins had testified that paying that fine is no problem for them because they're going to make that right up on a daily basis selling illegal cigarettes, that means it may not even be persons from Dolton that's buying these cigarettes. Once the rumor is spread that you can get illegal cigarettes in Dolton, then that's where they come. And I think that blemish should be removed from our village by having these hearings when these people are found liable for selling illegal cigarettes. So the fine can be collected. It has been collected. And if they can't pay the fine, then their license should be revocated. And I agree with Trustee Pearson. As far as the day in court, as Trustee Pearson stated, and I have those case laws, your license can be suspended from not having your emissions test, and there is no day in court for that. Your license can be suspended for not appearing in court, and your license can be suspended for not paying your child support. So there are many reasons why a person's license, we have to stop finding excuses where we can't go in and start shutting some of these people down who disrespect the residents of Dolton. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
No, we're going to move forward.
Mayor, I want to add something.
We believe, we're moving forward.
No, I just want to let the residents know
next thing on the agenda,
that once you're found guilty in adjudication court, Attorney Murphy said that filing automatically goes over to the hearing. You can't plead guilty in adjudication court, which they did in July, and then come to the village hearing and say, I want to plead not guilty. He said it automatically goes over. So it's just a formality. They can't come in and not plead guilty. They have to plead guilty because they pled guilty in adjudication. And I'm done.
Okay. One thing I'm going to say is that this illegal cigarettes it's not just in Dolton. It's everywhere.
But we're Dolton.
It's everywhere. The city of Chicago, some of these gas stations have been cited by Cook County, who has not been able to collect the revenue. But anyway, with the next 30 days, I'm going to have a hearing set. Next thing on the agenda is the update of Melanie Fitness Center. Trustee Muhammad.
Okay, Mayor, residents, and board, as we all know, there have been promises made to get that facility up and running. Now, before I ask you, Mayor, I want everyone to know that you have residents and persons outside of the village of Dolton who are members of the Melanie Fitness Center. And if you have a year's membership, whether you're on Silver Sneakers or any other type of membership, there are monies that come out of your account every month, like clockwork. The pool and the spas are not up. Now, I have emails going back from December of last year, Mayor, to yourself, the general manager of the fitness center, and where the board has approved the repairs. There was a deadline that we had to get it done because the persons that would repair the pool needed to be signed off by you. And could you tell us, please, why have you not signed off to get the work done to get our pool up to specification, so those members who are paying their membership, and some of them have actually went to other facilities such as LA Fitness and other surrounding gyms, and will come back as soon as our pool and spas are back up. So could you inform the board and the residents, what is the status of you signing off on the papers to get the Melanie Fitness back up to specs so the county inspectors can bring the pool up to specification?
First of all, I'm going to say that pool could have been done several months ago, but you chose to lay off, you and some of these board members chose to cut a person that was repairing that pool out of the budget. 2 days before that pool was going to be done, you chose to cut him out of the budget. Now you put it out to RFP, where it was going to cost us, I think, the total of $6,000 to get it repaired by our in-house person. Now we're looking at how much, Janice? Come on up, Janice.
That's right, bring the employees in, intimidate them.
You want to find out what the status is? I'm going to give you the status.
I got the response to the
I'm gonna give
email.
you
I'll
the
let you
status.
finish, Mayor.
I'm going to give you the
I'll read off
status. Where are we at now at cost, since they wanted an RFP out to get the pool repaired? Where are we at cost now?
The invoice that I received from Whiteco is at $47,000.
$47,000. And this pool could have been done before they lined out our maintenance guy, Scott. He had started on everything. All he had to do was put one more coat on it. And they laid him off 2 days before that happened. Secondly, Janice, what did Whiteco say? There was some language in the repair that needed to be corrected, and that's another reason I didn't sign off on it.
Right, so there's some language in the promissory note that needs to be corrected. I did reach out to Jeff over at Whiteco Pool, and I'm just waiting for him to send me a revised copy.
Okay, are you done, Mayor? Can I be
I'm done.
recognized? Okay. Let's bring the facts to the table now.
Oh, shit. I guess Janice is not telling the truth either.
Mayor, I will not let you drag me into besmirching an employee of the Village of Dolton. I'll give you the facts from the Cook County inspector that I talked to personally.
Yeah.
In order for anyone to work on that pool, whether it be Scott or anyone else, they must be certified by Cook County. There is a listing that I received from the County of Cook inspectors of those individuals that could work on that pool. If they're not certified by Cook County, then our pool will not be passed. Mr. Scott, as talented as he is to do all the work that he does, he is not certified by Cook County to do any type of painting or repairs on that pool. Now, Mayor, I have sent you email after email after email so we don't have this public display. You have not answered one. You call an employee out to try to cause division between her and I, which will never happen. But if you would just respond to an email, and even in the email, and everyone on this board knows, because all of them have been CC'd, I believe I even CC'd the clerk, the general manager, and you purposely did not sign off on the papers, so that pool will not be open. And the $40,000 or so is much more than, if you want to read off what's going on, we're talking about 2 spas, we're talking about a kiddie pool, and we're talking about the large pool. We're also talking about replacement of equipment and upholstery repair. There's a myriad of things that needs to be done. But Mayor, if you would only respond to an email or a phone call, you and I and other board members can have this discussion so that we don't have to have this dog and pony show for the residents. We just want Melanie Fitness open. You had a chance to sign off on it. You would not respond to not one email or sign off on the agreement between Whiteco and the Village of Dolton. A trustee cannot sign off on it. Ms. Johnson cannot sign off on it. Ms. Redmond cannot sign off on it. The only 2 people that can sign off on this agreement is yourself and the village administrator, which we do not have. So as far as that $40,000+ is concerned, that's what it takes. Anybody knows that has a swimming pool, it's heavy maintenance involved in keeping a swimming pool up. And that's what it takes. So when you hear 40,000 opposed to 6,000, 6,000 was not certified by the County of Cook, and Mr. Scott is not a certified worker to work on that pool.
Now, you know what, Trustee, when you were in charge of the Melanie Fitness Center, and you had your son working there in charge of the Melanie Fitness Center, you had no problem with Scott working on everything. You called him on a regular basis to fix different things. Had no problem with that. So now, after you had been kind of moved out of that position and you still want to take control of it, you have delayed everything that we tried to do over there. Secondly, I've got a problem with the county inspector that came in there to inspect this place. And we've called down there and talked to her boss, because when I came in the office here, she was doing county inspections here, and I asked her to verify the inspections that she did by documentation, couldn't produce them, and she was released from employment here. And I questioned the fact that they came in, how they came in, how they talked to the employees over there. And so I think that you would have had no problem with Scott finishing this deal and all the other repairs that he did there and saved us money, there was no issue about certification. Now all of a sudden it's certification. And then this inspector comes in and write a litany of violations, and then all of a sudden we get a proposal for $350,000 to sell it and finance it. And when we had an appraisal for $800,000. There's a chain of events that have occurred here that I just don't trust. I just don't trust. So this delay in the Melanie Fitness Center being brought up to where it should have been could have been done close to a year ago. You marched, or you had all those members come in here and to fire up on me, to jump on me, and it backfired on you when everything could have been up and done at the Melanie Center. And now here we are the following year, and it's still not done.
Can I
So
be?
anyway, no, we ain't gonna, no. There's your update. There's your update, trustee.
I just want to. I'm trying to be respectful, Mayor, just to be recognized. That's all.
We've already beaten this.
Sir,
Next
can
thing
I
on
be
the agenda-
recognized?
Next thing on the agenda is
I have to
update on
retort to the
invest-
misinformation that you've given out to the public,
Right.
Mayor.
The next thing on the agenda is the update to invest in Dolton. Trustee Mohammed.
Okay, I'll use some of my time also for item F, and I will go into invest in Dolton as well. But
No.
Mayor, you put out some misinformation,
That's-
sir. You've personalized this. Mayor, would you
Trustee-
please let me
Trustee,
finish?
this could have been solved last year.
Mayor,
last year.
no one wants to argue with you,
And-
Mayor.
and I'm not arguing
let
with
a
you.
trustee.
I'm not arguing with you.
If you continue to interrupt me, Mayor, it's argument.
order in the
Let me-
We
audience,
want to
please.
go on to invest in Dolton. Go
I
ahead.
will as soon as I finish my update on the Melanie Fitness
Well,
Center.
you won't have time for invest in Dolton. We're going to go to the next thing.
Okay, as I was stating, you definitely don't want to hear about update on Invest in Dalton.
Right.
But I'll finish with the Melanie Fitness, and I'm sorry that you
We're done with the
personalized
Melanie
this,
Fitness.
Mayor.
We're done with the
Rogers.
Melanie Fitness.
I'm sorry that you personalized. It has nothing to do with personal. I talked to the county inspector, and it is total opposite of what you just described to this
okay.
audience.
Yes.
I personally talked to her,
Okay.
and she has nothing against you, nothing against this village. She was doing her job.
Right.
All we're trying to do is get this fitness center back up to
Yeah.
specification. Mr. Scott Gilmore is not certified to do pool work. As far as the other work that Scott Gilmore did, he did a yeoman's job of the work that he had done under my leadership at the Melanie Fitness. I have no problem. I have no problem with Scott's work. He's not certified to do the Melanie Fitness Center as far as the pools are concerned. He's not certified. And when you say all of a sudden this certification, we don't have a certified person right now if the pool was up to read the pH balance and the chemicals in the pool. The only person that can do that is Mr. Ken Gray of the Dorchester, who's willing to come and volunteer and do that for us to get our pool back. It's not a personal thing, Mayor, between me, you, and my son. It has nothing to do with that. You refused to sign the agreement between Whiteco and the Village of Dolton, where we could have had that work done and that gym could have been up before the end of February. So now go on to item
Did you
G.
hear Ms. Johnson, what Ms. Johnson said? There was language in there that we didn't need to sign it that way. You just hear?
We can go to item G if you don't mind, Mayor. I'm done with item F.
Go ahead, trustee.
Thank you, sir. I have a congratulations of a victory for the residents of the Village of Dolton. The Invest in Dolton has been tied up in court since last year by our Honorable Mayor Rogers, but the judge ruled in favor of the residents that we can now release these homes. But before I do that, I want to dispel some misinformation that has been out there. Last year, we had installed a program called ProChamps. ProChamps allowed us to collect monies and to register many of the properties that have never been registered in the Village of Dolton. I'll give you an update on ProChamps. Since May 1st of 2018 of last year, we have accumulated $129,800 from registration of over 600 properties that we either abandoned in foreclosure. We know who the banks are, the lawyers that deal with those properties. That's over 600 properties that cost the village absolutely nothing. That's the money that we make free and clear from ProChamps. I preface that with the Village of Dolton's Invest in Dolton program, where the judge ruled in our favor. Now we have about, and then a Trustee Stubbs can correct me, we have right now about 14 homes that have now been released. We took the political arm away from this. It will no longer be the mayor that can sign off on these deeds. According to the judge, it can be the clerk or the director of housing can sign the exemption applications. Also, the judge stated, village officials also shall not hinder nor delay the issuance of otherwise valid requests for occupancy permits for any of the properties, nor shall the village officials refuse or fail to turn on or allow water to be turned on for any of the properties acquired under this village agreement. Now, the order is pretty long, but I'll just give certain highlights because many people are confused of the BP Capital and the Invest in Dolton program, but we will have a housing fair, and we'll announce that at our next board meeting on, I think it's March 4th.
That's a separate.
It's not investing.
And what I'm reading into record, excuse me, I believe the clerk has it, the mayor has it, and our attorney Murphy has this also, according to this report, this order that came down from the judge. Actually, it was Judge Thomas Condon, and I was there at that particular hearing, and the judge was quoted as saying, these are his exact words, "This program is a great way to provide housing, stabilize, and grow communities." And just to give you some redevelopment portions of this agreement between us and our developer, the village has undertaken efforts to promote economic development, home ownership with its borders, and address the issues of distressed, unsafe, dangerous, and hazardous properties which are vacant and abandoned pursuant to Village of Dolton Ordinances number 9-485, 10-499, 17-008, and 17-013 that are subjects of foreclosure proceedings, tax delinquencies, water or municipal liens, liability within its corporate limits. The village, in its efforts to address the aforementioned, has determined it's in the best interest of its residents to obtain a developer who is experienced, competent, and financially able to renovate and restore the unsafe, dangerous, and hazardous properties in their as-is condition under the terms and conditions set forth in this agreement. The developer is seeking to assist the village in its efforts to eradicate unsafe, dangerous, hazardous, vacant, and abandoned property pursuant to certain Illinois statutes. I won't read all of those. Then renovating and restoring properties, thereby stabilizing the community, and return properties to the tax rolls for the benefit of the village and its residents. It is the intent and goal of the village and developer to jointly cooperate in executing this redevelopment agreement to eradicate the hazardous, unsafe, dangerous, vacant, and abandoned properties within the village's corporate boundaries. Now, this has been in court for the last 19 months. 19 months that this was introduced. There's been a denial of water service and willful failure to record the court-issued judicial deeds, which, as I told you, the judge gave a victory to the residents that they now have to do it. We can finally begin putting people into these once vacant and abandoned homes. Over 30 properties in the pipeline returned to the tax rolls. We're now going to be increasing the tax revenues for the village and schools by $200,000 annually. And 6 properties have been set aside as for the raffle for village residents. And again, Judge Thomas was in agreement with this. It was in our favor. When I say our favor, I'm not talking about just the trustees that had to take our honorable mayor to court. And by the way, that case did not cost the village from these trustees 1 single cent. But if the mayor would have just followed the ordinance, we could have had these people in these homes last year. So again, this is in the record, and hopefully the clerk, if you do not have a copy, I can give you a copy, and hopefully it'll be published through our transparency ordinance so that everyone can know what went down on February 5th, 2019 at Circuit Court 2084 under Judge Michael T. Mullen. And that's my update on the Invest in Dolton program, Mayor. Thank you.
If I may.
First, go ahead.
For a point of clarification, trustee, no, I do not have a copy of any order signed by Judge Condon at the 6th Municipal District Courthouse. The copy of the order I have is from Judge Tilley, I believe you said, that was entered in February. That was a agreed order between the Village of Dolton and the plaintiffs, meaning the trustees. So if you have a copy of anything signed by Judge Condon, I would like it for the record, but The order I received was not entered by Judge Condon. It was entered by Judge Tully, I think you said, and I think that is correct, at the first municipal district when the Village of Dolton settled this lawsuit with the trustees of the Village of Dolton. So yes, please send me anything
Yes,
you have from
ma'am.
Judge Condon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As some of you know, and some of you may not know, first of all, this order was not about Invest in Dolton. The order was an agreed order. It wasn't a win. The trustees, 4 of these trustees here, sued me to sign off on those properties that were given to BP Capital. My issue about signing off on those deeds was the fact we were not receiving any money from any of these properties that BP Capital was given. And I wanted to know who they were selling them to, how much profit they made, who did the work, and they didn't want to give me that. So what I did was I did a little research. When Trustee Mohammed talked about the Invest in Dolton program, those were the 6 houses. But this order that was agreed upon, because it would have cost the village more if I kept fighting it, but I still refused to sign those deeds because I think we should know who those houses are going to, how much money that they sold those houses for, and because we didn't get one dime for those houses. So here's what happened. I get sued by Gary Grasso, and if some of you know the chain of events here, Anthony Bass, who is a member of Grasso and Bass law firm, charged the village $5,000 per house to do the demolition or abandonment lien to get these 6 properties. Of course, I made a stink about that because it's only about $300 some odd fees, and then it's only like a $75 publication. Why are you charging us $5,000 to file liens against this house when in fact our village attorney could have did it, and he does it in other cases in other villages. So in doing my research, I get sued by, I'm not sure if it's Gary Grasso or Michael Grasso. Gary Grasso is the partner of Anthony Bass, and Michael Grasso is his son. So I get sued for not signing a deed that their law partner filed demolition and abandonment on the property, and guess who the property was given to or sold to? It was given to or sold to a company by the name of Relion Homes LLC. So in further research, I find out that the managers of that LLC is Michael Grasso and Gary Grasso, and this has been verified through the Secretary of State. So now you come in and you file these liens against the village, and mind you, these liens vacates everything. Water bills on these properties, liens on the properties, whether it's for cutting grass or maintenance, and you actually get this house free, but it costs us money to get it to you. So I just think there's an ethical problem here, and there's something funny going on when you sue me because I didn't sign your deed off on your deed, and you go to court and you do it as almost as an emergency order, okay? And it goes to your law partners and to his son. Then I find out later that that house was sold for $145,000. The village didn't get one dime. So that's another reason I didn't want to sign off on these deeds. And I want to find out how much actually that the village is not receiving on these houses that was given away for nothing. Now, you're okay, fine. We're going to be back on the tax rolls. When do we really realize anything on the tax rolls? In 2 years or longer? And what do we realize? Maybe 5,000 this house or 6,000 this house? It's a hell of a lot less than 145,000, I can tell you that much. So, I want to know those questions. And the building permits. You know, I want to pull the building permits. See who actually worked on the house, the extent of the work. How much they actually put in that house before they flipped it for 145,000. You know, the water liens, all wiped out. Grass cutting liens, all wiped out. I mean, this is ludicrous for us to give control to one company over 400 houses and we don't get a dime. You know, this needs to be investigated. Y'all want to investigate me? This needs to be investigated. And so now, John Murphy agreed. I told him I wasn't signing off on it. You know, if they want to put somebody else to sign off on it, that's fine. But they're not going to throw this up in my face and say, yeah, the mayor signed off on them. So he entered into agreed order to stop the attorney fees for them suing me for not signing off on those properties. But that's what we're dealing with here. And it's a shame that we have things of value that we can bring in revenue, especially when we owe people our garbage, owe the city of Chicago money. We have things that we can bring in revenue, but it's given away. Now, would you give away your house free? And I don't think any reasonable person would if it had some value. But that's exactly what's been done here. So, I'm going to move on to the next thing.
No, Mayor. Let me remind you of what Attorney Murphy told us at our last meeting when you cut off the dialogue, that every elected official has the First Amendment right to speak. When you were shutting down the dialogue last time, and he won. Well, I'm not through speaking,
sir. You spoke of this as being invested in Dolton, and it's not invested in Dolton.
Again,
it's
Mayor,
not. Those deeds were not invested in Dalton.
You know, one of the biggest complaints that residents have is the fighting that goes on in this board. I try to be as respectful to you as possible, sir.
I agree with you.
If you would please let me speak, Mayor, without interrupting you. I don't interrupt you. Can I speak? Can I speak and respond to the misinformation that you just stated concerning this program?
Misinformation. Go ahead, trustee.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Please, let's get out of here at a reasonable hour.
And then, Mayor, I have some input.
Mayor, there's a thing called judicial sale. Anyone here knows, and I think Ms. Henyard can attest to this, when there's a judicial sale, the water bill is waived. There are quite a few things that are waived in a judicial sale, which is some of these properties. It is not 400 houses. We're talking approximately 14 homes. Not one home has been sold yet because it's been in court since last May or June. You're selling, who's selling the houses to? They have not been sold. And we're talking about 14 properties. The $5,000 that was paid to Attorney Bass will be returned to the village upon the raffle of the 6 homes that we have, because the persons have to have $5,000 in order to secure the home, and that goes back to the village of Dolton. So, Mayor, you talked about a home that was sold. I have no information on that. I cannot respond to that.
You didn't do your research.
Mayor, I have not interrupted you. I'm trying to be respectful. Mayor, you keep talking about the disagreement on this board. We have to be respectful if we can have a disagreement. I love to have a disagreement, but I will not be disagreeable with you. I would like to finish my point, and I hope that you recognize other trustees that want to speak, because we have a First Amendment to speak at this Board of Trustees meeting. So the misinformation that you said, no files against the property and no money back on the tax rolls. I would prefer to have a home that's been rehabbed, and these homes have been rehabbed by persons registered with the village of Dolton who are certified, bonded, and insured by the village of Dolton, and we got that list from our licensing department. So all of those persons are registered with the village of Dolton. So that's all I have to say, and I thank you so much, Mayor.
Madam Clerk, Madam Clerk, why don't you tell the residents here how many of these you've signed off on, and kind of confer the first sale, how much it was.
Pursuant to the agreed order that was entered and not issued by Judge Condon, Judge Condon was the judge who granted the petitions by BP Capital on behalf of the Village of Dolton to transfer the properties to the village. The lawsuit filed by the trustees against the mayor for failure to respond was filed at the Daily Center, and a different judge entered the order by agreement, hopefully resolving the matter. But pursuant to that order, I have the dubious pleasure of signing off on the deeds, and as of this week, I have signed off on 3 conveyances to buyers because we are conveying them for $0. I do not yet know how much those properties will be resold for. But for the one that the mayor referenced to Reliant Homes, Michael Grasso as contractor and principal of Reliant Homes, and I think actually, Mayor, that was $147,000 from what I saw.
Okay.
The other 2, I don't know what they're going to be resold to private parties for until they come back and process that paperwork.
3 properties. 3, not 400.
The order,
So far.
the
3
order,
properties, not 400.
the order that was entered in by Judge Michael Mullen, October 18, 2000.
Not totally.
Pardon me?
Not totally. One of my people. Mullen is also one of my people. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Yes. This cause comes before the court on an emergency basis. What I'm thinking is that he had the house sold, the deed wasn't signed off on, he wanted that deed right away so he can get the money. Emergency petition, I can hardly read this, for Reliant Homes LLC. Now, this order was drawn up, from what I understand, by Attorney Grasso. He drew this order up and had the judge sign it on an emergency basis. Hereby ordered the petition to, it's hard to read. This is the petition, what is that?
Petition of intervener.
The petition of intervener, Reliant Homes LLC, is granted. The emergency petition for writ of mandamus is granted, and the writ is, it's basically saying it's hereby the mayor of Dolton or the housing director is basically telling me to sign off on this thing. 15516 Ellis is the property in question. And that's the property that was sold for $147,000, where the village didn't get one dime for that. Now, some of these other villages that have abandoned properties, they sell them, and they get money for them. Why shouldn't we be doing anything different? I had one investor told me, said, Mayor, if I was doing what they're doing, getting the cream of the crop, I'll give you $20,000 a house. So 100 homes, that's $2 million. It's $2 million. These properties, especially the recently foreclosed ones, don't need a lot of money to rehab them. And that's money that we could use in our coffers to pay our bills and our debtors. So anyway.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead, trustee.
Mayor, I've been waiting.
Yes, that's right. Go ahead, trustee Henner.
All right, thank you. I just want to bring some clarity because it seems like everything is everywhere up here. BP Capital. I just want you, Trustee Muhammad, to explain BP Capital and Invest in Dolton, because that's 2 separate programs. That's not the same program. So everybody understand or are aware of that. You guys were in court for, I thought, BP Capital, but you're saying you was in court for Invest in Dolton. Is that correct, Trustee Muhammad?
Yeah, the homes were combined, but what I think it would be more favorable as part of the housing committee, that we discussed that in the housing committee and discussed that. But if you read the order, and the mayor did not read the latest order, which he should have, because according to this order that I received that's dated February 5th, Attorney Murphy is his name is one of them, along with 2 other law firms. So, Mayor, by you not having, and the clerk not having the updated agreed judgment order, and Trustee Henry, to answer your
That ain't my
question,
question. Yeah.
to answer your question, as I stated.
Allow me to correct that. No, trustee, I do have the updated order of February.
February 5th?
Yes, the final order. Pursuant to that order, I have, since that date, signed off on 3 properties as submitted by BP Capital, and pursuant to that order, as BP Capital submits the deeds, I am to sign off on those as well, as they submit them.
Yeah, I have no debate with that. I'm trying to answer Trustee Henyer's question, and we would have to go through the order, and like I said, so that we don't take too much
Well,
more
trustee,
time.
I just want to be simple, like here.
Let me finish, Trustee, please. As I was stating, Trustee Henyer.
Order, please.
As I was stating, Trustee Henry, we have the order, and I don't know if this has been handed out to everybody, but what I'll do is I'll make copies, and we can discuss that in the Housing Committee.
Okay, you didn't answer the question. So here it is, you guys. BP Capital. They got a contract exclusive. We was arguing over the word exclusive. Everybody know what that word means. So I'm not going to give a definition like Trustee Muhammad does. That means that they strictly have the contract for the Village of Dolton to receive all our inventory, which was 428 properties to be exact. We gave that to them. Okay. After that, this board created another program called Invest in Dolton. That attorney that represented BP Capital, which was Attorney Bass, went after 6 of our vacant property, which he got off of that list, if y'all all following me. So after that, we paid him, meaning the Village of Dolton, we paid Attorney Bass $5,000 per house. So now we are in debt of $30,000. Everybody follow me with the math? Okay. So now they're stating they're going to do a raffle. That's what I heard. So correct me if I'm wrong. They said they're going to do a raffle for you residents to get these houses that we already paid for, and it's sat there, let Trustee Muhammad say it, for 19 months. So that means we spent $30,000 over 2 years, almost 2 years. And you guys haven't benefited from the property. First of all, why would they pay for something that we could have just gave strictly to the resident? We could have cut the middleman out. We didn't have to pay an attorney $5,000. We could have gave it to you, resident, let you pay $5,000 and moved on with our life, right? But they didn't do that. So my questions to Trustee Muhammad is, and I can recite them all, how many houses did they get? What 6 properties are in this raffle? Did we pay for the 6 properties, which I just answered? And how do a resident get a property that you said was going to be in this raffle?
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Before you answer that, Trustee Muhammad,
yes,
I just want to interject something. It would have been more than 6 houses, but because I said something about it and the cost and everything, they shied away from doing any more. But there was I think it was 22.
No, it was 30 they were trying to get.
I think it was 22.
I can answer her question, Mayor. I have the information in front of me.
When I get done.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, what was the initial list that they gave you? Was it 22 or 30 houses that was on it?
The very first list was, there are actually 2 lists. One were 6 houses for Invest in Dolton, which is a separate program, as Trustee Henyard said, for which the village paid $5,000 each to Attorney Bass in attorney's fees to acquire.
Right.
BP Capital was a separate agreement approved by the majority of this board.
That's correct.
With BP Capital, the attorney for BP Capital is the same Attorney Bass.
For both programs, yes, that's correct.
Now,
and initially,
and the plot thickens.
Initially, there were 19 actions filed with Judge Condon and other judges at the Markham Courthouse. Others have followed.
Yes, and there was liens filed on houses where those owners were still in control of the property, and myself and Madam Clerk appeared in Markham Court and told Attorney Bass, you better take another look at this. And originally he refused to drop the lien on those houses, and we were staying for the hearing because we wanted to go in front of the judge. And then he came out, and those homeowners were at court that day. He came out and said, okay, Mayor, we'll take these 2 off. Because we was definitely ready to confront the judge and say, hey, these are legitimate owners here. Sure, they're a little bit delinquent, but these houses aren't vacant, you know. But in going back, you know, Trustee Henyard was part of the board members that voted for BP Capital, but since then she's seen the light on what is really going on here, and how we just giving away our inventory. And I think at that board meeting, they said we were giving them control of over 400 houses.
428.
What was it? 428 houses. So they had the luxury of picking and choosing the cream of the crop, which ones they wanted to rehab, which would cost less, where we can flip them quicker. And, you know, Trustee Muhammad mentioned earlier, none of those houses have been sold. Well, I talked to one of the investors. He said, hey, I paid X amount of dollars for this house already. I just don't have a deed. So these were, I think, these houses were selected to have little rehab, and they marketed to those investors and said, we're going to get this done. We're going to get this done. And I just don't think it's right to give away inventory. I just don't think it's right for us to know how much profit that we have thrown out the door. Thrown out the door. Originally, I can say this, I think at 155, whatever it was, Ellis, you know, it was a house in reasonable condition. I don't think they spent a lot of money on it, and I think they probably profited over $100,000 on that house. And part of the other issue was they bought in and said, hey, we got these people that's going to do the mortgages and everything and get these people in the house. So it's supposed to be a smooth transition of us giving the houses, they hooking up with the mortgage companies, a few selected people will get some inventory and make a lot of money, and we sit back here like a fool trying to pay our bills where we had an opportunity to bring in some revenue to help pay our bills. So I think it's just part of a big scheme, and we the fools,
Mayor might be recognized if
Trustee
you're
Muhammad
finished.
wanted to talk.
I'll yield my time to Trustee Stubbs.
Where's Trustee Stubbs?
I just want to say, you've heard a whole lot of stuff. This is like a commercial. You don't know what to believe
We got
and
the
who to
facts.
believe. And I have the facts too. I believe in black and white. Presently, there are a total of 17 houses that they are working on. We have the Invest in Dolton program where we could have been sold the houses. I have the applications, but the guys have to redo the applications. I've been calling people that have filled out the applications for the 6 houses because we thought it would be a good thing to raffle off houses to the residents. And they only pay $40,000, up to $40,000 for a total rehab gut. Now, since then, these people have actually qualified, and they are residents of the village of Dolton. One young man lived with his mother and father, and he qualified. That application was taken to him yesterday so he can redo an application. And they talk about they picked the cream of the crop. Bull crap. On 149th in Michigan, want everybody to ride down there, is this house right here. And you can't see it, but you're more than welcome when the board meeting is over to come up and see this house. It's deplorable. This is the house that lived between the 2 senior citizens that's rodent infested, that's deplorable, that's on the list to be rehabbed. So they don't have to live like that. Okay? And anytime somebody had a question about BP Capital and Invest in Dolton, because the attorney Bass can charge whatever he wanted to charge, just like this attorney up here. She charged whatever she wanted to charge for her services, and that's her fee. So.
But our job as trustees is to protect y'all first.
Excuse me,
Just so y'all
excuse
know.
me,
Ain't no
because
job
one,
that you
excuse
wanna
me,
charge.
Trustee, and you let
excuse
her-
me, I'm speaking
let her
because
finish.
yesterday a young lady came to see me about one of the $5,000 houses that she wanted from your program, and she had, her credit wasn't up to par, and so therefore, you know, I got a problem with that too, about giving out false
We
hope.
know you want to let them cook your
But
friend up.
we
Don't
can
worry
all,
about it. We get into that.
I'm not going to argue with you, trustee.
You just did.
You're not going to get that out of me. But anyway, we can all sit down together because it's enough houses to go around. Okay? I don't have a problem with doing Excuse me? I don't have a problem with somebody else doing it, the program, as long as it's done properly. You know, you don't know how much it's going to cost to rehab a house until you go up into the house and to see what it need.
Trustee Stubbs,
Yes.
how do you pre-qualify people and the lottery hasn't happened yet?
You pre-qualify them it's the same way you do it when you can pick up the phone. If you get ready to purchase a house and you want to pre-qualify with a bank or any type of a financial lender, and they will pre-qualify you over the phone. If you have ever purchased a house that way, Mayor, then that's the way that you do it, and they will give you a pre-qualifying letter to show that you are pre-qualified once they run your credit. If you have good, decent credit, Mayor.
So you're going to only...
Excuse me, you want me to answer the question?
I thought you answered already.
So that's how you pre-qualify.
Okay.
A financial institution will pre-qualify you if your credit is up to par.
So what you're saying is that only these pre-qualified applicants are the ones that's going to be in the lottery?
Anybody can fill out an application. You have to pre-qualify for a certain amount so you can get the house rehabbed.
So
we don't want to give you a house that's uninhabitable. You have to have it, I believe it's like $35,000, $40,000. It depends on what you want in the house that you qualify for.
So I'm saying, this is what I'm saying, you have to pre-qualify first before you can get into the lottery?
That's correct.
Yes.
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 That's correct.
Why would you not? Like the young lady yesterday, you know, or like other people that say, well, I have the $5,000 for the $5,000 program, but they don't have any rehab money.
Okay.
So that's therefore, with this program, with only the 6 houses, you have to pre-qualify.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
Come on, we beat this enough. Let's go on. Let's move on. The
Mayor,
next thing on the agenda is new business, hiring of 3 crossing guards. Go ahead, Trustee
You
Pearson.
miss H, Mayor.
H, I thought you said that...
Okay, I want to go on record, Mayor, that you're not recognizing a duly elected official, that you're shutting down our First Amendment right to speak on an item that a trustee has put on the agenda.
Fine, you're on record. Okay, Trustee Henry, next thing on the agenda is approval of block-by-block program.
As a trustee, I want to go on the record and make sure that's in the minutes.
It's on the record.
I would like to make a motion to approve block-by-block program.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to approve the block-by-block program. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to refer this to the attorney because this was tabled to committee, and the committee meeting is next week.
Mayor, she just said in her statement that she okay with both programs existing. Now all of a sudden she wants to table it. Come on.
It was already...
Small tactics.
It was already tabled.
They don't want to get a house to the people, but they gave it to their friends.
Hang on, trustees.
Don't say
Madam Clerk just advised me that it was tabled to the committee. That table still stands, and it has to go in front of the committee, which is next week.
Okay, well then I'll say this for the record. Residents, pay attention to how this board vote up here. I'm so grateful that it is an election on February 26th.
Yeah.
You make sure you vote how they voted for your program.
Yeah. Okay, that was a public safety announcement. But at any rate, we're past that. Next thing on the agenda is new business, hiring of 3 crossing guards. Trustee Pearson.
First, I want to apologize to the residents for this. This took a long time, and I'm sorry that y'all had to sit here and go through this. I mean, really, I didn't want to go through this myself. Sitting here going through this is unbelievable. First, to the clerk, I'd like to amend the hiring of, I put on the agenda 3 crossing guards, and it is actually 4. It was brought to the committee meeting I mentioned earlier. Deputy Chief Mobley showed the committee where there was a desire, or a need, I should say, to have 4 crossing guards. And with that, I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Mobley to just explain. One thing I did want to say is that the hiring of 4 crossing guards will not raise the budget. They are well under budget. They have only spent half of the $147,000 that's allocated to crossing guards, and so the budget won't increase. And if Deputy Chief can explain the need for the 4 crossing guards.
So it is in the budget?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, citizens. Okay, the purpose is to provide for our children as they travel to and from school here in the village of Dolton at high-volume traffic areas and railroad crossings. Currently, we have 16 crossing guards. We had 17. One recently resigned mid-January of this year. We're seeking to hire 2 and a floater and replace the one that we lost, bringing the total to 20 crossing guards, which is very much needed. Crossing guards work an average of 4 to 5.5 hours a day, which calculates to 660 hours per year. And for an additional 3 crossing guards, it would cost the village $21,315 on an annual basis. As Trustee Pearson said, we're well under budget. We're at about half right now. We would like a consensus to move forward in the hiring. I have currently 6 applications for individuals waiting to be called for interviews with the board's approval.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to hire 4 crossing guards.
Second.
It's been motioned to hire 4, and seconded to hire 4 crossing guards. Any questions, any discussion? I'm just going to say that we are, our crossing guard that resigned did not give us any notice. And 2 areas that we needed 2 crossing guards were at the railroad tracks. We had 1 crossing guard at each of the railroad crossings, they were not able to protect both sides. They were either on one side of the train or on the other side of the train. So we're going to add an additional crossing guard at each one of those railroad crossings. And then the other one's going to be a floater. From time to time, we get crossing guards that come in that take off. We have to replace them. We'd rather replace them with a crossing guard rather than take a police officer off the street. If we're shorthanded now, we take a police officer off the street and he or she winds up at that crossing. So by having the floater, we can man up in additional locations where there's concentrated efforts of traffic, increased efforts of traffic, and in case someone takes off. So, no further discussion, roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Denton?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye.
Motion carries 6 ayes. Next thing on the agenda is the mayor's report. I just want to mention the fact that we, in our coffee with the mayor, we had a representative from East West University that is offering to our residents full scholarships at East West University. So we had a number of our residents had taken in consideration by putting in applications for their children and or grandchildren. I've talked with Mr. Cheney, who's the coordinator of this free scholarship program. Still has about another between 30 and 50 scholarships that can be awarded for a 4-year term. So if you have some interest in that, you can call my office at 201-3269, and we can direct you to Mr. Cheney to give you the information that you needed to get the scholarship. The election, I want to mention the election is, early voting is now. It's important that you come out and vote and voice your choice. Election is February 26th. And, you know, it's your proper precincts. Also, what you may want to do is there were some precincts that were changed last election when the referendum in the general election, and there were people that had been voting in their precincts for a number of years. Their precincts were changed, and there was some confusion. They said they didn't get notification. So prior to February 26th, or prior to you voting, call the Cook County Board of Elections or go on the website and find out what precinct that you live in. If you have your voter's registration card, it will tell you what precinct, but there may have been a change. So you want to confirm that because your vote's going to really count. It's notoriously a low turnout when there's an election with no mayor. So what will happen is that there's three people running. I'm sorry, 11 candidates that are running. The top three, there will not be a runoff. The top three who gains the highest number of votes will more than likely and assuredly take office in the first week of May, even though they're going to be on the ballot for the April election. One of the things when I supported a referendum was that I wanted to have just one election. And tonight, I think it's on Channel 9, one election in April, because during the winter, people do not want to answer the door. They don't want to come out and vote. They don't want you to open the door, and it's very hard, even with a notoriously low turnout, it's very hard to get people to come out in the wintertime to vote. Now, I think tonight at 9 o'clock, there's going to be a special on Channel 9 in regards to why the Chicago elections are held during the wintertime. And you just don't get the turnout when the election is in April. But we lost that referendum. It's not politics.
Yes, it is.
We lost that referendum.
Political.
And any rate, this
political, attorney.
Thank you, Attorney Muhammad. Any rate, there's two elections.
Robert's rules,
So
sir.
please exercise your right to vote, because a lot of people perish because they tried to vote.
Well, Mayor, don't forget, let them know about the 3 referendum questions.
We already talked about that.
There's 3 on there now. I just want to.
Oh yeah. There's 3 well, she said she don't want to talk politics. They don't want me to talk politics. There's 3 referendum questions on the ballot. That's all I'm gonna say. The other thing I wanted to say, I want this, there's a special meeting in regards to the beauty supply facility. Okay. Now, we only have 4 in town. There's one real small to just sell braids. There's one a medium size, and then I think there's 2 larger ones. But these are retail stores that generate sales tax. And sure, if you're in that business, you may not want another competitor to come in. But competition is good. If you got 2 hot dog stands, one on this side of the street, another one this side of the street, it's just your job to stay in business to sell a better hot dog. So, there's been so many things that's been brought before this board where we can get a chance to gain some revenue that we don't. And tonight is a display of that. We give away houses free. We don't want to turn the water off on Friday. And now we want to reduce the number of businesses to come here that would generate sales tax. Nobody's really dying to come to Dolton.
Not true.
And it's hard to convince businesses, residents to stay, new residents to come in, and but they want to see stability. They want to see good police service. They want to see good schools, and they want to see a responsible board. So, I'm saying, and a good mayor. I haven't been able to exercise my right as mayor for the last 6 years almost, but at any rate, I would advise this committee for this special hearing to consider the revenue that we would lose from the sales tax if we limited certain businesses coming to town. So next thing on the agenda is citizens' address. Anybody want to approach this board, address this board, I should say, you can come up. And maybe we can get out for the 9 o'clock.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, residents of Dolton. I have first an announcement. On March 30th, Neighborhood Housing, along with South Suburban Housing Center and Spanish Coalition, we will have an event. It will take place in South Holland. It is Save Your Illinois Homes. We get a lot of calls from residents that are still struggling, all across the board, not just in Dolton, but everywhere. So this is an event that's going to help. We'll have mortgage companies out there. We will have, IDA will be there for the I-refi. If you're underwater, they'll talk to you and see if you're eligible to potentially get up to $50,000 off of your mortgage. They will also be there for the Hardest Hit program. So it is an event that if you don't need this, please share this with your neighbors or someone at your church. It's for any Illinois resident. I'll leave some here so that we can have some in the village.
And I'm going to say something. We had two of our residents that benefited from that Hardest Hit program.
We've had several from Dolton.
Okay,
Several.
so I was there for the first two, and so it works. You know, don't give up. When your home is one of the biggest investments you ever make in your life, and you struggle to keep it because there's programs out here that can help benefit you.
So I want to say that. Now I'm going to take off my NHS hat, put on my resident hat. Just got a couple comments. I do want to thank the candidates that came out to the forum. It was wonderful. We had a great turnout, so thank you. The residents do appreciate you coming to talk about your platform, letting us know who you are, because some of us don't know you, some of us do, some of us are familiar and others aren't. So thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get my thank you letters out, but thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out. And then one last thing, I do want to ask about the thorn in my side, which is Invest Dolton BP Capital. Trustee Muhammad, you mentioned that there were experienced developers. Who are those experienced developers?
I'll share the agreement with you once we're, I'm sorry. I'll actually give you a copy of the agreement so you can have it.
So is there more than one developer or are there multiple?
No, it's the development company that we made the agreement with in the original ordinance. That's what it's referring to.
Okay, so it sounds like it's...
And that's why they have about 14 homes ready to go, even with the resistance that we've gotten from this administration.
Okay.
And I've seen quite a few of them, and it's top-of-the-line work that I've personally seen myself.
Okay, so there's one other point of clarity that I want to bring up. We did have the land bank in our village. We were a member at one time, and the land bank does the same exact thing that BP Capital does. They actually do. The difference is we may be able to profit from them because there are some times when they may pay the water bill and that comes back to the village. So if I heard you correctly, Mayor, you said that all that money went... Everything's wiped out when they apply for the demolition or abandonment lien. If there's issues that's been, tickets that have been issued to that house or that particular property, existing water bills, and some of those properties had thousands of dollars in water, we don't get one dime. It's all wiped out. Well, what I do know about the land bank, there are times when they will pay that water bill and that goes back to the village. They don't do it in every situation. But I'd still encourage you guys to talk to the land bank. We have actually, Dolton is a bad taste in their mouth right now. But in my conversations with them, they're willing to have a conversation if you're really serious about being a member community.
One of the examples was the old Dusty property.
Yeah,
that
I know.
had been abandoned for a number of years, and I reached out to Cook County Sheriff Sheriff Dart, and they bought their team and demolished that Dusty's. We turned it over to the land bank because there was thousands of dollars owed in taxes.
And they wiped it out.
The land bank cleaned it off, and we turned around selling that partial, that 1 acre, and it's a 2-acre partial, for over $300,000.
The other important thing to know about the land bank is they have their own attorney and they don't charge the village any dollars.
Right.
So there's a lot of benefits for the land bank. I'm an advocate for it because I see it work in other villages, and there's no reason why we should not benefit as a village for this. The other thing is that I go to the SSMA collaborative meetings. We're missing out on a lot. We need representation there. Mm-hmm. One thing is that there are some benefits that we can take advantage of, but if we're not a member of the land bank, we don't get an opportunity. Right. So I think that the trustees need to consider the benefits of the land bank. Come out to the meetings. They're open every what's this Thursday? No, I'm sorry. What was last Thursday? It was a meeting last Thursday. So They do them every other month, the collaborative meetings, and then they have a monthly business meeting. So there are opportunities for us to benefit. We should not be sitting here battling back and forth when there are opportunities for us to benefit.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
Now, I
you
know
can.
it's citizens' address. What do the land bank do for an individual that they sell a house to, and they never rehabbed it? The house is still standing there 2 years later, and the land bank sold it for like $4,000, and it's still in a disarray.
Is
Do
that
they-
village still a member of the land bank? If you're no longer a member of the land bank, then they have no jurisdiction over it. If we were still a land bank member, they give them 12 to, don't want to misquote them, but I believe it's 12 to 16 months to do the rehab. If it's not done, they will take that property back.
Okay, they were a member during that period of time, because it's been a while, maybe 2 years, a little over 2 years.
How long have they been gone? The land
No,
bank was
no, they
dismissed when? So it depends on when, trust me, if they aren't doing the work,
Okay.
then the land bank will take it back.
Because that house is still just like that.
Just sitting there.
So
But
some-
if we become a member again, they may look at the inventory that was sold. But I don't work for the land bank, I just collaborate with them on some projects.
And there are going to be some incidents where the land bank has sold the property, and the person that had purchased the property cannot come up with the financing to do the rehab. But that's not 100%. You can do, in any program, you're going to have some discrepancies, and you're going to have some people that can't perform in regards to.
I think they have to be reasonably up to code.
Yeah.
In some form or fashion. I'm not
And
sure because I don't work for them.
And some showing that they're continuing to work on it, and the land bank can adjust the
They can.
requirements.
Yes, they can.
So,
But if there's no activity, then
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably will pull
Take
that
a look at
property.
it.
I'll find out and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Okay? And remember, March 30th, guys, come out. Let your neighbors know. Let folks at your church. I'll leave some flyers because we need them. Again, thank you, trustees, for coming out. And I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, you didn't make it. We missed you.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
I have a question, Mayor. Is it really on the board about taking the water bills to go to once a month instead of the 3 months?
Well, when I first came into office, I wanted to go to a monthly billing. We do that for the industry, the businesses. We don't do it for the residents. But, at the time, the board kind of said that it was too costly to change over. But my thought is that it's too costly for us not to change over, because it would be more manageable for the customer, the resident, and we would get the money in quicker to be able to pay our bills quicker. But right now with the 3 times a billing that we do on a yearly basis, and whatever we don't collect in that quarter, we carry over to the next quarter. So 4 times a year, okay. Yeah, every 3 months, yeah. So whatever's not collected in that quarter is carried over to the next. And, there has been situations where $2 million hasn't been collected, so you go into the next cycle, and that means you may have, if you're billing $3 million, you may have $5 million that's out there, and then you have to try to collect it within that quarter. And it continues to go on. That's what creates the shutoffs. So, it would just be more manageable. If you're averaging $300 over a 3-month period, that means you're averaging about $100 a month. And it would be more manageable for you to handle the $100 a month. And secondly, if it goes into the second month, it's more likely that you'll pay the $200 rather than going into the second quarter and try to pay $600. So that was just my suggestion, to try to go to a monthly billing. It would make it a little bit easier on everybody.
So if we go to the monthly, do we have to hire more people to read the meters? Because in my way of thinking,
Yeah.
a lot of time the bills are estimated.
Right.
So if you estimating the bill every month and I don't pay my bill this month, I might use less water than you estimate, now I'm over, or you underestimate, so the village is over.
Right.
So do we have to hire more people to read the meters?
Well, I tried last year to hire 7 part-time meter readers, because the majority of our billing was estimated, and it was estimated low. So, so then when you get the actual reading, you get people to get mad at you, because now you're taking actual usage, In some cases, people intentionally don't let you in to take a reading, you know. So it goes on and it's estimated. But for us to have the majority of our billing estimated is not where we should be, and not where we're contributing to move ahead to pay our bill with the City of Chicago. Now, we had put in an application for electronic reading. All the meters would be changed. I think it was a cost of what, Matt, $4 million or something like that. All the meters would be changed, and at the click of a button, the satellite would read all the meters. Okay? Now, our application that was submitted, was it EPA, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. Our application that was submitted, the EPA found some discrepancies in it, and they didn't approve us for the award to get the meters, although there was a matching part of that we had to come up with. So we're eligible again to submit an application, but we also have to find how we're going to pay up our matching part, and we have to put the right information. The information, from what I understand, was submitted on projections. The EPA wanted actual readings, and so they disqualified us on the loan deal. But we're ready to go if we can come up with the money to match whatever we need.
Okay, my only other thing is I got a pet peeve about Sibley. I came up a couple months ago and talked about when it snow, the business don't clean the sidewalks.
Right.
And I actually took pictures for you all and you can have them, so you can see it. You see that they do they parking lots,
right?
But you got people walking in the street because it's ice,
right?
So I'm not saying that the village should pay for it, but we need to get the businesses to think about the residents that's coming in their business so they can walk up and down the street.
Yeah.
So I know you said you were gonna send some people out, but I got 2 sets of pictures you can set on each side, and you all keep these, so you can make a decision on talking to these business to get this done.
Well, to make it mandatory, they have to put an ordinance in place, and the City of Chicago has put an ordinance in place that I think everybody has to clean the sidewalk, even the residents, you know, and they give tickets and they give fines. So maybe the board needs to consider or talk to some of the businesses and put something in place to have them.
Well, my thing is to bring it to your attention now, publicly, so you could see this, and maybe we could get some action to it.
Right. Okay.
Thanks.
That ordinance for the next board meeting.
Yeah.
And this sector go down there, same
So,
piece.
thank you. Mr. Holmes.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Andrew Holmes. I give Christ all the praises, but to the Honorable Mayor, the Honorable Trustees, the Chief of Police, Deputy Chief, and also the residents. I'm only going to make it brief. I'm only going to make it short. This 1-800 number is a call center of mine that I've been had for 7 years across the United States. And this ain't the first time this card ever been displayed in Dolton. And it's not, as stated before, that it's a distraction from calling the police department. If they check the record with the Cook County Sheriff, the FBI, U.S. Marshals, and the fugitive, I've been 7 years working there without a problem. If Cook County Crime Stoppers can put cards out here and nobody says nothing, 1-800-STOP can put cards out here and nobody says nothing, Father Flater can put cards out here and nobody says nothing, why question this? Murders have been solved. Murders have called me and turned themselves into me because they were tired. Drug house has been shut down. Crack house has been shut down. Even prostitution that was happening in the motel in Dolton years ago. I done worked with the past 3 chiefs here and relayed information to them, and they done worked diligently in Dolton to help shut them down. Even the present chief done got information. The last murder that happened on 144th Street came through this 1-800 number with the pictures of the perpetrators in the car that was out there that they left, that they picked up. So I say to those that are negative about it, check the record and check the facts. I work deeply with law enforcement, been doing it for years, and if you want to find out what agency I work for, I'll tell you this, just don't be the one getting investigated.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening. Can you hear me?
Bring it down. You can pull it down some. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes. Hi, I'm Miss Watson, and I'm here today because I have an extremely high water bill. I received it last week for $2,600. And I don't understand why. I've been a resident for 13 years, never had a problem. I can't get a straight answer on why my bill is $2,600. Only thing they tell me is it was estimated. I need somebody to sit down with me to go over the bill because we're going to have to sell our house to pay $2,600. I can't come up with that money. I was told if we don't come up with it, it's going to be shut off. And that's not fair.
Well,
So who can I
Ms.
address
Watson,
this to? Yes.
Ms. Watson, I'm going to, I'm not sure what your schedule is like. Can you come in?
I can make time.
Okay. Tomorrow, Janice, can you come in and see Ms. Johnson? She's our Director of Administration.
Okay.
She can pull the history on the house.
Okay, and I do have those records as well.
Okay, she can pull the history on the house and find out where the problem is, if there is a problem, because I'm not going to say, but once it's investigated and do the research, she's more than glad to help you and try to correct it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I can get her information? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Mayor, who is the department head of the water department?
Sammy Young.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Pat.
Hey, Mayor, how are you, everybody?
Good.
I just had a question, and I've heard tonight twice this mention about the judicial deed
Yes.
and how the balances are wiped out.
Yes.
Trustee Muhammad, you were the first one that mentioned it, so I just had a question. Maybe you can clarify this for me. If the properties, and we'll say the properties have an average bill of $6,000, that's the amount it was when it went final. So if it's $6,000, and if it's 5 of those or 17 of those, and if we wipe them out to zero, now I don't know if you can do anything about that, but I just need clarification. If we owe the city of Chicago $8 million, this money appeared somewhere on some line item as a net bad debt because it's not collectible. So was these properties included in that $8 million? And if it was, since it's never going to be collected from the village of Dolton, is there any adjustment to the $8 million?
Very good question. Number one, judicial deed sales have been on before anybody on this board has been here. That's been a part of the policy of the village of Dolton. Judicial sales, you waive those expenses that the village does incur. Anytime there's a water main break, and I think I've heard the mayor say that, we still have to pay for that. When we don't pay for our water as a resident, the village still pays that bill every month, about $200. I believe Trustee Pearson knows about her. I think $275 a month.
Average is 270.
$274.
Yes.
Our bill is $274 whether people pay their bill, whether there's a water main break. When the bill comes due, the village is liable for that bill. So to answer your question on the judicial sale, that's always been the policy. The only way that we can change that is to change the policy, either through resolution or ordinance, number one. Number two, the $8 million that's due to the city of Chicago, which is more now since our last conversation, is $9 million plus. We've entered into an agreement with the city of Chicago. The tax levy was raised for that. But we have to look at a systemic issue of how it got to $8 million. That's one of the questions that we should have. How did it get to $8 or $9 million when it was only $1.2 million in what, 2016, 2017? 2017, it was 1.2. How did it balloon from 1.2 to 8-point-something million in 1 year? There's only one answer to that. The bill was not being paid. And if you do the multiplication, $274,000 a month not being paid, and put penalties on top of that, that's how you get the $8 million. Thank God myself and Trustee Pearson was able to go down and negotiate with the city of Chicago to get some type of payment plan, because they wasn't hearing nothing else. They said, we can take the money from the sale of the Dorchester, we can take the money from the sale of the fitness center, but we want our money. But thank God, cooler heads prevailed, and we're on a payment plan. That's basically what it is. The city of Chicago agreed to do a payment plan with the village of Dolton so that we don't go into receivership, such as cities like Harvey and other cities that went into receivership. But that money is not on some balance sheet. We lose that money on a monthly basis. When I read the reports every month about how much money is out there, and it's approximately $2 million, there's money that we will never collect because they're what we call dead accounts. I believe there was that. You know that. I mean, you work in the water department. They're called dead, meaning we'll never get that money. There was an instance where I was hearing that there was a company here that owed $22,000. And we were told that, well, we can't get in there to read the meter. And miraculously, 2 weeks later, they got in and read the meter. So, you know, there's an infrastructure problem here in the village of Dolton. There's a management problem here in the village of Dolton when it comes to that water payment center. And I talked to Ms. Watson, and I've heard her anger. And I instructed her to go and talk with Ms. Batten. And the bottom line for those people who get these bills, and you know it better than anybody in here because you work there, if you got an estimated bill and you've been getting an estimated bill for a year or 2 years, when they finally read your meter, you owe that money. And that's what we wind up telling the residents. Well, you owe this money, you got to pay. Give us something every month, but you got to pay your regular bill. That's not the fault of the resident. I don't look at my bill and say, oh, it's an estimated bill. Let me call them and say, hey, are you all charging me enough for water? You don't do that with ComEd. You don't do it with NICOR. So it's an infrastructural problem here that we got to solve here in the village of Dolton. It's a management issue.
That is citizens' address. Come on. Go ahead, Pat.
Okay. You know, I still take issue with that. I'll save that for the next meeting because it's not something that's going to go away. The other thing, Mayor, with the changing of the street to Dr. Martin Luther King,
right.
It's an honorable thing to do, but when we do it, that $900 that we're talking about that's going to affect the village,
yes,
everybody that's on Chicago Road is going to be affected by it because there are utilities that identify by addresses. Those records have to be changed.
Okay.
My bank account that I'm going online to access, that has to be changed. MapQuest, all these other online things have to be changed. So when you do it, hindsight is 2020. This will be changed effective 2020, and you will have X amount of time. There are businesses that are there to make the change because those are programming issues.
Yeah.
So because our heart tells us, okay, let's do it June 1st, that's not logical, and it's going to have a backlash.
Well, you know, whatever time that you put out there, whether it's a year or whatever, it's going to take probably a couple of years before people realize it. Now, these businesses and homeowners that's on Chicago Road, when they get the bills, a lot of time there's a portion there that says, if you change your address, complete this. We're going to notify the post office of it. But you brought up a good point. It's going to take some time. I didn't really, I thought about having the signs put up and then doing a ceremony when it was closer to be more warmer, to have the residents and whoever wanted to come there to do the official renaming of it. So those people that live here know that they're on Chicago Road, and they can start notifying some of their bill collectors or whatever, but the post office will be notified as they will deliver those that mail to those addresses. Now, when you change your address, that change of address, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brown, a change of address is only good for 6 months. And then they start back delivering that mail. At least that's what I was advised.
Well,
yes, okay. Yeah, so if you moved in and you haven't changed your address, it's only going to be 40 for 6 months, right? 6 months.
that's if I chose to move, but
Right.
you're changing it. So now we're just going to say a business.
Uh-huh.
And the business is going to come back and say, hey, You changed my address. You didn't give me enough time. I'm going to bill you for this stationery I had to do. I'm going to bill you for these IT people that have to change that. So that's a conversation that you're really going to have to talk to the attorneys about.
Yeah, well, whatever we need to do, we're going to do it, that it's as less complicated as it needs to be. But with all these other communities that have changed the name of their streets to King Drive or Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, they've done it, and we may have to just reach out and find out how they did it to make it a smooth transition. So, so thank you for that thought.
Okay, thank you. And I know because I retired from AT&T, and when all those company names changed and the street changes, I was involved in some of that, so I know what could happen.
So you want to volunteer as a coordinator of this?
No, y'all give me a headache.
How you doing, Mr. Craig?
I'm fine. Good evening, everybody, Mayor, trustees. This is my disclaimer. I'm not on anybody's side.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a couple things. The Melody Center, do they have liability insurance?
Sure.
Does that include the pool?
Sure.
Okay. I would like for you all to make sure before you move any further what your insurance policy says. With the school district, we wouldn't even think about anybody doing anything to that pool unless they were certified. And the reason why is because it can quickly become a life safety issue. I'm not saying that who's right or who's wrong, but I would like for you all to check that to make sure that our insurance would stay in force, please. If someone would, if you choose not to, that's fine. You know, I just want to give you a little background information. Secondly, Ms. Wells, thanks so much for bringing up the land bank situation and asking them to talk with the land bank. But for me, before you talk to the land bank, I'd rather see you all talk to each other. Okay? Because, you know, it to me is, obviously, I wouldn't expect everybody to agree, okay? But when you disagree, what you do as a board is you talk to each other, you bring facts to the table, and then you're supposed to make a decision that is best for the residents. I think that sometimes you all get so off key that, and you know, it's hard to like everybody. I love everybody, I just don't like some of the things that they do. But I think you all let that interfere with what we elected you all for, and that's to represent us. I mean, you started talking about this VP capital, and I'm more confused now than when the conversation started, okay? And I think the only way that you can do that is bring the facts, come together, and you got to agree. Listen, I'm not perfect. I had to. It's easy for me to say I made a mistake, okay? And you all have to do that because, I mean, we spent an hour on this, and from what I get is the situation has already been resolved. I mean, the only way it can be overturned is you take it back into the courts. So I won't say waste, but you spend an hour talking about something that's already resolved. Talk about that's done. What's the next step? Those that think that's wrong, what do you do to make sure it doesn't happen again? Those that think it right, what do you do to improve it? Okay? Because there's one thing I learned in my short time on this earth. That coin has two sides. It has two sides. And sometimes, you know, a little bit of one side is right, a little bit of the other side is right. But you have to come together. My biggest fear is that after this election, you still won't be talking with one another. Thank you.
I think he's right when he said after this election you won't be talking to each other. Because like every meeting, what goes on, every time something is said, you've got board members that step all over the mayor's toes and tell him, you're wrong. They got to get somebody in there that's going to help him out and do what is best for the village.
Good evening, everybody. I just got a question for the trustees that are in favor of BP Capital. My question is, the properties that BP Capital, that we sued, that you guys sued the mayor for, all of those, the water bill that those properties, the monies that would have been allocated, is BP Capital giving the village anything back other than us waiting for the property to be placed back on the tax roll?
That's still in discussion.
Okay.
Wait, excuse me. Excuse me.
That's the truth.
That's in discussion, and the reason being is because they had to spend so much money going back and forth to court.
That's right.
BP Capital did. Okay. They had to spend a lot of money over the 19 months that they was back and forth to court, and they are willing to talk about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Not a problem. My
and I believe you talked to BP Capital the other day.
Yeah, I talked with them, and what in the conversation that I heard was it's going to be beneficial to the village once the properties go back on the tax roll, which will generate approximately $56,000. But if you got 17 properties and all we're getting is $56,000, and each property is being sold for hundreds of thousands, how much money are they making?
You don't know that. That's what the mayor. That's what the mayor said.
Well, listen,
if you want to talk to them again, then you can.
Okay, listen.
We got the record that it was sold for $147,000.
No.
There's a transfer stamp.
Mayor, I got it.
There's a transfer stamp to prove that.
I got it. Okay. We don't know what the the one property we got confirmation on, but the rest of them we don't know what the price is going to be.
I haven't seen that confirmation.
So, okay, whatever the number is, here's what I do know. Here's what I know from a person who was in real estate, who owned 2 flats, who owned 5-bedroom houses. When I sell a property, I'm in the business of making money. I'm not going to get a house, fix it up to make the same money that I put into it. So we can forget this and that. We know that they're in the business of making a profit. What I'm asking is, when they make that profit, will the village benefit because the list of how they got a hold of all of these properties and know which properties to pick? I want to know how that they got the cream of the crop and where the list come from. Because I'm just asking a question. It's not about it being true or not. It's a question. How did they obtain the list? Answer that question first.
They went to the housing department. You can also look online.
Okay.
And get a listing of the houses. But, you keep saying the cream of the crop, and I just described a house to you that's on 149th in Michigan. Go by and look at it.
Okay, what I want to do, can I finish and then y'all can respond? Let me just get out what I'm saying before you respond. What I'm trying to figure out is, if they went to the housing, they went to the internet, they went to all of these places, why do we have trustees backing them? If they did it on their own, why would they invoke the help of trustees? If you did it on your own, you don't need trustees to back you. I'm just asking that question. I just want to know, because it seems like it's a conflict of interest when the trustees are involved. And now we've come to learn that the attorneys are the same attorneys from another suit that it just seemed like a lot of mess. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't want to put myself in a position to even appear to be like I'm getting a kickback, like I'm benefiting from it. Because that's what it seemed to me, whether it's true or not. The 99% of appearance, more than likely, that's what's happening. That's more than likely, whether it's true or not. But that's what the perception of people's thought process is, because you're defending them so hard. Like the land bank, you're not even bringing that up when Ms. Wells we was a part of that. We got rid of something that didn't cost us money, that would have helped us out, that you didn't even consider going through to even asking them or giving them the opportunity. It's like y'all so set on BP Capital that nobody else exists. That makes me think, personally, you got a personal interest in stake. I'm just saying, whether it's true or not, that's what I feel as a resident.
My community that I've invested in, I do have a personal stake in my community and in the abandoned properties.
I'm talking about
that's
BP Capital,
that's around.
Not your community. I know you got a stake in the
right,
community.
I have a stake in my community.
Why is BP Capital the only person you are considering? That's what I'm
Do you
talking
want
about.
the answer?
You haven't been listening.
You want the answer?
Listen.
You haven't been listening.
Respond.
You have not been listening.
Who are we talking to?
Wait a minute.
I just want to know who's talking.
Wait a minute. Hold it.
Let me respond.
Okay. Go ahead, Trustee.
You going to
Pearson.
respond? Okay.
The way this started off was by us going out and knocking on doors, and we were knocking on a lot of doors. And the number one complaint was, why don't y'all, you're the trustees, why don't you get together and get some kind of program to get this crap out that's next to me? Take care of these abandoned houses. You guys are trustees, and nobody's doing nothing in this village.
Let me interject one second. Let me just interject real quick. When you say that, I applaud you for saying just that. But what you fail to realize in your same statement, the residents sat out here and said we didn't want BP Capital. So don't tell me that you knocking on doors when the residents said no to it.
When you don't let me finish,
okay, go ahead.
I mean, I know you running for office,
said no to
and you trying to make a show for yourself. That's not what happened, young man.
So don't
now
act like
I tried to tell you, explain it to you.
Trustee.
But since you gonna answer for me, then you can just answer all the questions.
This is citizens address.
Mayor,
not just
he
citizens
asked a
address.
question.
Okay, and you always bring that up. You always bring it up.
You don't have to slight me, sir. You don't have to do that.
You always say it's citizens address.
He asked a question,
and you answered
and I was gonna give it. No, I didn't.
I'm good.
Mr. Bowen,
and don't you put words in my mouth.
Thank you for your comment.
And you talked to BP Capital just the other day, Mr. Bowen. You talked to him yourself.
No, that was a great show for the trustee.
Yeah.
Okay. Great show for the opponent.
But 2 more weeks.
Mayor.
Okay.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
I have one question. We do have confirmation.
What's your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
I am Tammy Brown.
Okay.
We do have confirmation that the home sold for that the home sold for $147. You're saying that we're going to get something back. That's property taxes, which could be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. But it's sold for $147,000. So we're still not getting anything. That's confirmation online. What it's sold for. That's pennies. Taxes is pennies. It's confirmation. We got it right online. Shows everything, room by room. You can take a look at it. Shows how the house look now. $147,000 sold on February the 8th.
It is.
But I'm just saying, $147,000, and we're getting peanuts. That's the point here. We're not getting anything. That's peanuts. $147,000.
And it was an insider sale.
And you gave it away, but you gave it away for free. That's my point.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, citizens, and department heads. We keep going back and forth about BP Capital and Invest in Dolton. Excuse me, when I hear that it's 19 months later, you know why we're pushing BP Capital? I'm pushing BP Capital. Why? Because that was the only company that people brought in. Somebody came in and brought a program in. You know what? The trustees went out and got this program. A lot of you all weren't here. They voted on this company. There are 400 pieces of property in the village of Dolton that are vacant. Now, excuse me, this was before the residents said. The residents weren't here when they took that vote. But the okay, I don't think I've missed the meeting, but I'm just going to say that out of it's there 17 homes that BP Capital have? Are there 3 homes, or are there 30 to the clerk? How many homes do BP Capital actually have?
BP Capital is in the process ongoing of acquiring homes on behalf of the Village of Dolton pursuant to the agreement that the trustees approved. So far, it has submitted, and so far meaning this week, after the settlement agreement earlier in the month, it has submitted 3. I'm told by the housing director to expect more this coming week, and on an ongoing basis as the court approves them. And the properties are rehabbed and sellers are identified.
So, out of 3
buyers are identified.
or 14 or 17, there are over 400 properties. There's 300 and some properties still out there to be purchased. We keep saying the cream of the crop. If I'm going to invest a house, there were 3 on my block alone. If I'm going to invest in a piece of property, why would I get the ones that are in worse work that I got to tear down to build back up? We're not being reasonable here. And let me say something. Attorney Murphy, and I don't know about this young lady, but Attorney Murphy represents more than one company. Attorney Murphy represents more than one entity.
13 municipalities.
I don't understand why we are getting so upset about a program that nobody else brought in.
Ms. Craig.
No, let me talk.
Finish
because
talking, finish
everybody
talking.
else,
Finish talking. Go ahead.
everybody else had it. I'm pressing BP Capital and Invest in Dolton because I was here. There were young people that filled out applications when we went to the meetings. There were applications being filled out, and some of them I've ran into, and they said they purchased homes somewhere else. When I'm listening to 19 months before a grand idea gets to be put into actual motion. Now, if it was my money, I spent 19 months trying to get into a piece of property, then of course I'm going to have something to discuss because I've spent X amount of money. And you know what? To me, it just looked like we didn't want anybody to move into those vacant properties because I have young couples that wanted to do that. And now they're gone.
Okay.
Okay, and then, Mayor, may I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Are you still on the board of the land bank?
No, I can't be on the board of the land bank if we're not a member of the land bank.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
I don't think, what's funny, I want to clarify that. I want to clarify that. I know at one point you were on the board.
If you are a member, it's usually the mayor that's a member of that board. If you're a member community, the board chose to separate us from
Right.
the land bank. So
Right.
it automatically put me off the board.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, because before, and I remember that process, it wasn't in this building, it was in the building, the old building. And my thing is that, as Mr. Creighton stated, you guys understand, we have gone through pools and all this kind of stuff in District 205. You must be certified to handle that bodies of water, whether it's painted or not. You must be certified with the state, or somebody can come back and sue us. Once again, it's another suit. So let's be real. Please, let's listen to what's going on.
All right, Ms. Creighton, I'm going to ask you to speed it up so we can...
Okay, but you didn't ask anybody else
But
to
they
speed
haven't
it
been
up,
this
Mayor.
long.
Oh, yes, they were. I
Okay.
counted 30 minutes.
All right, Ms. Creighton,
The tax
gonna-
levy, now, the tax levy was raised for the water bill, right? Wasn't there an additional tax levy raised to us, the citizens, for the millions of dollars that we owe the city of Chicago? So, excuse me, we raised the taxes for that. We raised the property taxes, did we not, last year? That's twice, right?
The board did, not we.
Okay, wait. I don't care who did. It was come across that it had to take a majority vote. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding something? Were there two? We did a tax levy and we did the property tax. Is that correct? Now, I have a problem when you say that I have to pay a double bill after I've paid my bill. That young lady said her bill was $2,000. Okay, understand that. And Trustee Pearson, let me commend you, because you stated at the last 2 weeks ago that people are not paying their bill because they don't want to. They're in financial strains. My thing is that we need to understand, Mayor, you've repeatedly said over and over again that in the next 10 years, that was 3-4 years ago, that Village of Dolton would be a host of retirees on a fixed budget.
That's fact.
And I know it's a fact, so that's what I'm saying. And that's exactly what I'm saying, on a fixed budget. As far as taking the bill to a monthly, I don't want that. We got to get our computer systems to be able to talk to each other so that we can have the accuracy that we need, so that it's not an estimated bill, or it's not an estimated cost. And I know you're for that, but I'm just saying personally.
Ms. Creighton, you have to have a vision to move the village forward.
I totally agree.
Okay? And we did a lot of things to move the village forward, even with all the resistance. We've been cited in the Chicago Tribune for having the best website in the whole south suburbs. We get calls from other towns saying, how did you do this? Can you come over and help us? Our drone, nobody had a drone out here. We started that. And now you're seeing other towns having drones or asking for Ed can you come over and show our people how you put things together. You have to have a vision, and you have to move forward on the vision. Now, I just don't see us not going to monthly billing. Our money is out there. It costs us not to go to monthly billing. Whatever the cost is, it costs us, because what we're actually doing is being the bank. We're carrying a $2 million note or $1.5 million note into the next quarter.
Okay.
We can't continue to operate like that. We have to bill, get the receivables, and pay our bill. And if we don't come up with a good solution for the city of Chicago, we're going to continue behind the 8 ball. One of the things is that we could have made a ton of money off of these properties that we've given away. And we could have addressed part of the issue with the city of Chicago. We didn't do that. We gave it away. Now, the water department is meant to be a separate profit center. In other communities charge a heck of a lot more money for their water than we do. But anything we've had new meters put in by the city of Chicago, and those meters, after an audit, realized that we were overbilled $1 million. That was corrected. But anything that comes through those meters, these water main breaks, it costs us money to bring people out to get them done. But I tell Matt, I say, get the employees out there quickly as possible, because that meter is running just like this.
Mayor.
And guess who pays for? All right, guess who pays for it? The city pays for that, because it's not going through anybody else's meter.
But I understand that, but my thing is that if we got the systems to talk and accurately work with each other, so that we'll know that the system upstairs can work with the system downstairs, or the system across the way in the water department. I've asked that almost 2 years ago.
There's a cost to that.
I understand there's a cost to it, but there is a cost not to have the system communicate with each other.
That's exactly what I said.
Because the estimated bills are not helping us. Please, can we understand that? Can we understand, please, that there's a courtesy to everybody? What you may think is bad, I may think is good. You may think it's good, I may think it's bad. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's all right with us to be able to disagree, to agree. Let me say to the mayor, all the candidates, all the 11 candidates that's running here in the village of Dolton, the voters will decide who wins. That's all. And it's people making jokes and cracking up and all this old kind of stuff. Yeah, there's some personal things been said up here, and there's campaigning that's been continually going on.
Yes.
But understand, let me finish, understand that the voters will say what has to be done.
You're exactly
That's
right.
all.
Thank you, Ms. Creighton.
That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Creighton.
So, and what you're talking about, okay, what you're talking about, BP or, because I had a
understand, Ms.
question.
Creighton. I'm gonna ask you- I'm gonna ask you-
I have a question about.
Ms. Creighton, you've had an extended period of time. Please let the other gentleman come up,
I
please.
sure will. I have a question about the block to block.
Chief, can we get some,
Ms. Creighton,
You
I'm
know
going to
what?
ask you to please
You've had
step
extended
away from the
amount of
podium.
time.
Mayor, you took 10 minutes of me
let's-
standing
let's-
here.
But you had 30 before I
Thank
took
you.
the 10.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, village leadership.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Brown.
And residents. I'd just like to speak on that red card. I've been around mail since the age of 17. I'm now 16 years old right now.
90. You said 90 years old right now.
So I'm very familiar with mail service. I've been mail carrier far west is Austin Post Office, far west. East is South Chicago Station. Far north is Uptown Station. And I work very closely with postal inspectors. And in my 28 years out here in the village of Dolton, I never saw those red cards until this election season.
No, that's
first
not
time I
true.
ever seen those. Well, it's the first time I ever seen them.
Yeah.
I've been out there 28 years.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years you've been here, but in 28 years, because I watch mail.
Yeah.
I watch mail.
We use them for your candidacy.
I've been around literature and mail since the age of 17, so I'm very familiar with that. But I'm just saying, when you put stuff like something like that out, you need to explain what it's about. I came up here and spoke on that at the last board meeting because if you ever in Food for Less in the produce area and you get asked a question by an individual about something, like to have a little answer for them. And I had no answer because I never saw the card. They pulled the card out on me and spoke on that. And just so happened I did run into a young lady that stay on 100 and something in Chicago Road, and she was attacked. And I spoke on that she was pushed into a hallway, and she called that number on the red card. I had no idea nothing about the card, and she had called me and asked me, could I come by there? And you should have had the police report on that. I believe the police did show up on that situation. I was just speaking on, get some explanation when you put stuff like that out, because it's easy to mislead people. And, when we had these young seniors, they kind of get a hold of something and they latch on to it, and they hold you to the bar on that. So that's what I was speaking on when I was talking about the red card. And one thing about me, you can put me in a pot of greens and I'll be clean, so I don't have to worry about being investigated or anything to that nature. So just want to be clear on that. When you put stuff out there like that, you need to be explanation with it. And just as I said, that red card surfaced during this election time.
Okay. Mr. Brown, I just want to say that when you ran on my slate.
This has nothing to do with what we ran on.
I'm just saying, we passed those cards out on your behalf.
When I ran, we ran together. We met at the same table. I didn't run on your slate.
I'm just okay.
I never ran. I didn't run on your slate.
How have you ran?
Okay.
On those pictures that you with me, we were all together.
Yeah.
Those cards was used during that campaign. That's all.
But I never saw them before.
Okay.
That's why I'm just speaking on what I have saw before. I never saw them before.
Okay.
But I'm just saying there need to be explanation when you put stuff like that out, because you mislead people. We have a police department that we pay taxes to do all this investigating and getting people to come and confess to. Not someone just come up with a red card saying, call me.
Yeah.
I'll save you.
It doesn't say call.
Because the thing of it is, when I can speak on a young carrier out here that got robbed the other day, and when the post inspectors put out a $15,000 reward, when you put stuff like that out, that make people come.
We still have no suspect.
Well,
we still have no suspect.
What the red card at?
We still have.
Okay, but this is what I'm just saying. Let the police do the police job.
That's what the police
does. Okay, because we pay
does.
taxes to the police officer to take care of that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown.
I had to come up and address that, because if anybody calls that 1-800 number, it's recorded, it's automated with the time and the date. So if she called that 1-800 number, everything goes to the police department, which jurisdiction is it in. My thing is, work together. Don't criticize, because if they call in that 1-800 number, it's going to the police department. Dolton Police Department has records where information has done come in and it's been to them. This is not the first time, just because this is the election, that this card has been out here. I've been out here way before even the mayor been running, putting these cards out. This is not the first time. But don't criticize the card. Just work and try to keep the violence down. If you commit that crime, guess what? Them cards coming out. You may not have had a violence on your block. Maybe you saying it's the first time that you done seen it. So be it. But I'm gonna do whatever I can to diffuse it, be proactive, and I'm gonna keep that card and I'm gonna keep my office out there. That's just simple as that. Not taking nothing away from the police department of Dolton, because they've been had this information coming at them the last 3 chiefs that they had. This ain't the first time. This ain't the first time. So I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna pray for you, I'm gonna pray for me, and I'm gonna pray for everybody else. So don't criticize just because there's a red card and I'm got a 1-800 number in the call center. I'm gonna do what I have to do, because if you commit that crime, if they don't call the police, they call me, guess what? It's still getting to the police.
All right, thank you. One more comment. Come on, Mr. Steve.
I'd like to rebut on that. I didn't criticize the card. I'm just saying, when you put information like that out, it needs to be an explanation to it, because you got individuals that really didn't understand the card.
Okay.
Because if you read the card, it says stop Andrew home.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Steve, this is the last comment. Oh, Jonah, this is the last comment. Then
how's everybody doing today? Edward Steve. Quick question. The house you said sold for $147, right? Who did it sell to?
I don't have that information.
Do we have records of how much it sold for?
Yes.
How much did it sell for?
$147.
I mean, no, how much did they get it for? How much?
They got it free.
Free, so they made a profit of $147.
I wouldn't say a total profit of $147. The house was given to BP Capital.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, it got into the hands of the law partner of Anthony Bass, and it was sold to the son of that law partner, and they sued me on a emergency order to sign it. I guess because they had a buyer. And
so
it's been recorded.
The person who bought it is the son of the attorney?
That's the ones that apparently got it from BP Capital. It went into Reliant Homes. So we pulled the principals of Reliant Homes through the Secretary of State's office. We found it to be in good standing, and those managers of Reliant Homes are Michael Grasso, the law partner of Anthony Bass,
so
and I'm sorry, Gary Grasso is the law partner of.
So it's not rocket science. It's obviously a conflict of interest. Obviously a conflict. It's not. It don't take a smart person to see how crazy that looks. And the fact, like Mr. Bones said, y'all are so hard up on BP Capital.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying a land bank, what did somebody say? We can do it together. We can work things together. She has a program. Why can't it all come together? But no, got to be BP Capital. And it's obviously, if people in the industry are saying don't trust it, then the trustees are, I guess they know more than people in the industry. So I'm just saying it's clearly a conflict of interest, clearly, and you're sold on it. And they just sold this house for $147,000. So they probably made a profit of $80,000. And if they got 14 houses right now, 11 houses, they liable to be a millionaire in another year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we don't get nothing from it, just back on the tax roll in 2-3 years, and y'all don't see nothing wrong with that.
Now I may get sued again for revealing this.
I mean, it's clear. It's clear. Anybody who watches the board meetings and watches it, everybody says the people of Dolton say they do not want BP Capital. So you got to go with the people want if you represent the people. Period.
They don't care. All right, thank you, Jonah. This is the last one. And then I ask for adjournment.
How y'all doing? My name is Jonah Robinson. I'm a business owner here in Dolton.
Speak up a little bit.
How y'all doing? I'm Jonah Robinson. I'm a business owner here in Dolton. I own JR's Jamaican Jerk on Sibley, and I also own one in Calumet Park on Ashland. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the board and the citizens that it's a lot of money to be made if we just focus on businesses too, because I'm the vice chair of the Dolton Chamber of Commerce that many of you all don't even know exists. okay? But we do exist, and we do have meetings, and we do have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whoever feels like coming to, you know, business owners, because it's mostly geared towards business owners that show up, and they come and they, you know, a few show up, mostly don't. But you don't have places like Pearson talking about the cigarettes. You don't have them coming to the meetings for the chamber. You don't have the liquor stores coming to the meetings for the chamber. And then you also don't really have no money coming from these businesses to Dolton, okay? Now, when I'm over here in Calumet Park, okay, this is the other place I decided to go and join and do business with. They handle their business. They got a chamber over there. They chamber of commerce generates money. The money that they chamber generates, it does things for the community. They got a community day. They got parades. This money, that it don't cost the village nothing, because the chamber generates this money. Okay? So when you join their chamber, they make you pay $200, okay? And then they give you a sticker like this, and they want you to put this on your door. Now, I see a lot of ordinances get passed. I see people want to stop this and do that, but don't nobody talk about making money, okay? Something as simple as this, okay? Every business out here got to get taxed. Okay, I get taxed on buying food. I get taxed when I sell the food. I get taxed when I drive to go get the food. I'm getting taxed all in. I got to pay tax when I pay my employees. So my business license in the village of Calumet Park is $783. Okay,
ours is 100,
and ours is 100 here. And the money here, we don't get no money to do nothing with that. That $100 is what? Where does it go? It's not even in the budget. Okay, now I pay $450 for my carry-out license. All right, I never heard these brainlistic trustees who are so intelligent, who know so much about how to run things, never talk about how to. You know what these people charging me for? They charged me $333 to put a sign on my fence. I said, now why Village of Dolton ain't around here charging that liquor store across the street to put Miller Lite half off on they? Charge them for that. Because when I go to other towns, they using they ingenuity. What's the word I'm looking for? That's what they using that. But we over here arguing about nickels and dimes when it's all type of ways to generate income, especially from the businesses. Because I pay taxes. Okay, I have to pay. Or they put a note on my door the other day at my restaurant because I was revoked for not paying my sales tax. But I outsmarted them. I said, oh yeah, I paid them. I just switched corporations because I got a good accountant that showed me how to do things. The point I'm making here is there's a lot of ways to make money. Okay? We can tax signs. You could tax businesses to make the businesses be a part of the community. These businesses, I went to Lincoln Lincoln Junior High. I went to Thornridge. This community means something to me. It don't mean nothing to that liquor store that's selling Lucy's. It don't mean nothing to the Marathon gas station that got the high prices on the candy. Okay? But what we can do is start trying to innovate with our board here. Show them ways to make other monies so that we can generate money for this community. We don't have parades anymore. I'm from that era when there was carnivals, when there was parades, okay? When they had haunted houses and Sibley was full of business. So they got a lot of tax money, a lot of chamber of commerce money, a lot of licensing money was coming through here, okay? Us as the businesses, we got to be held accountable too. Just like we want to pressure y'all to be accountable, we got to be accountable as business owners. So y'all want to find some money, come look over here in these businesses, because I'm making some money, and I'm pretty sure they are too. So I got to say.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, it's a motion to adjourn, first and second. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Denton?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
And Trustee Henyard?
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. 9:25.